Okay. I'm going to start.
Sorry.
Hello?
Yeah, Dano, you can start playing now.
Okay. Okay. Let me just put it in a better place. First place.
You can play one more, Daniel. Just one. Choose your best one out of the last two.
Okay.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Dano. Listen to that one. Wow, thank you, Dano. That was absolutely incredible. Guys, just drop a 1 in the chat box for my son, age 10, playing the piano. It's nice to see that my investment in him is starting to pay off. Thank you, Dano. You can mute your mic now. Really, really appreciate you doing that. Thank you so much. How you feeling?
Proud.
Good. You should feel proud. Amazing. Okay. I will see you very soon. You can mute your mic now. Big well done. Look at all the ones in the chat box, Dano. They're all for you. Well done. Absolutely incredible. So you can mute your mic. Grab your sister. Get comfortable. Grab a notepad and a pen, because as you know, note takers are the money makers. I'm going to hand straight over to our host with the most. Esther, over to you.
Thank you very much, Des, and a very big well done to you all. Thank you so much for coming today to Des's book launch. It's been an honor having you all, and I welcome you all today. So about myself, my name is Esther Jacob, and I'm the founder of Authentic Worth Publishing, which is a book publishing company that stands for bringing worth back into you through storytelling and book writing. I'll talk about what the day will entail. So we've got a few lovely special panelists and guest speakers that will be talking about property in further depth. And we will also be celebrating Des's amazing first book, which is Starting Your Property Side Hustle, which I am very proud of. Authentic Worth is actually the publisher of Des's book, and we're very humbled and excited for the journey ahead as well. So what I'm going to do is read a brief introduction to Des and also his book. So Des Amey is a former secondary school assistant head teacher who has transitioned into a successful entrepreneur. Des is also an established and successful independent consultant, providing a plethora of financial services. Des also specializes in all types of mortgages, loans, insurances, protection, conveyancing, and property buying. In 2018, Des launched the Amey Finance Academy, offering property portfolio webinars and trading education for fund management. After struggling financially for many years, living paycheck to paycheck, Des realized that the only way to financial independence was to create multiple sources of residual income. Through property, online trading, investments, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and other vehicles, he was able to leave the rat race and become a 7-figure income earner within 3 years. As a residual income specialist, Des educates people on how to achieve financial goals through his 10 Steps to Abundance and Money Matters programs. His company, Amey Finance Academy, has helped thousands around the world to become financially free. So the next person we are going to invite now is Briony to read the back of Des's book. Briony, you're more than welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, guys. Just getting rid of the echo for you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Amazing stuff. So guys, there's 2 parts to the back of the book, and the first part is, of course, about our lovely Des Amey, labelled About Des Amey. Des Amey is a former secondary school assistant head teacher who has transitioned into a successful entrepreneur. After struggling financially for many years, living paycheck to paycheck, Des realised that the only way to financial independence was to create multiple sources of residual income. Through property, online trading, investments, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and other vehicles, he was able to leave the rat race and become a 7-figure income earner within 3 years. As a residual income specialist, Des educates people on how to achieve the financial goals through his 10 Steps to Abundance and Money Matter programs. His company, Amey Finance Academy, has helped thousands of people around the world to become financially free. For more information, visit their website at www.ameyfinance.com. Now, ladies and gentlemen, about the book. Are you aware that you can earn a substantial income from the property market without actually owning any property? Learn how to develop residual income from becoming a property consultant. You forgo all of the risks associated with owning a property and enjoy consistent cash flow each month. You will learn how to replace your current job's income and end the cycle of living, of course, paycheck to paycheck. This book teaches you how to build a property business using 3 key strategies: rent to rent, service to accommodation, and deal sourcing. It is a comprehensive step-by-step guide where you get to benefit from the author's vast amount of practical experience in the property industry. No stone has been left unturned. The author is a qualified teacher and successful entrepreneur who has built a considerable portfolio using methods that are taught in this book. Nothing changes if nothing changes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Briony. And I really love that statement. Nothing changes if nothing changes. We know that change is inevitable. So we need to make sure that we're adapting to the times. Thank you once again. So now I'm going to invite the man himself, Des, and I'm going to ask him what actually inspired him to write his book. And Des, also, if you can read an extract from your book, that would be amazing for your audience. Take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you, Esther. And thank you also, Briony, for reading the back of the book. Really, really appreciate that. So guys, why I wrote the book. So, most people, know my story, and it's been touched on today already. I used to be a secondary school teacher. Make no mistake, I absolutely loved my job there. When I look back at my career, it's with fondness. I regard my career both an honor and an absolute blessing. Anyone who's a secondary school teacher will tell you that it's an amazing profession. But for me personally, I struggled financially. I lived paycheck to paycheck. And it came to a point where I said enough is enough, and I decided to make a change. And when my daughter was born, I decided that I was going to do something entrepreneurial that would allow me to access some of the, financial principles of wealth. So all of that being said, guys, one of the first things that I got into was actually property. It was property that I got into. I don't know if anyone can remember, there was a 10-year span of these kind of online property courses. They were free. They were normally on a Saturday. And they filled me, they gave me hope. They gave me hope because for guys like myself, there wasn't much out there around that time in terms of wealth creation. So, I became obsessed with these courses. I would go to these courses and, it was the whole day on a Saturday. And one thing that they gave me it didn't just give me hope, but it also inspired me. But it also gave me the ingredients to start my property portfolio. Now, most people know that with these courses, there's normally a follow-up course. There's normally a course that you have to pay a lot of money to attend. I couldn't afford that course. So I had to take the free nuggets and just get to work. Later on in my journey, I was able to invest in mentorship to really help me to get to the next level. So to cut a very, very long story short, I got to a point where I was able to build a very substantial portfolio. But if anyone knows me well, they will know that my first love is teaching. So when I, embarked on my entrepreneurial journey, I've been teaching how to execute some of the strategies in the book to small groups, large groups. Those of you that are subscribed to my YouTube channel will see some of my older webinars that I've done. And so often I get asked, can I lead on this event? Can I do another training? Can I mentor? And it got to the point where I said, you know what? I actually know too much. When I partnered with Erica Fremantle, she really gave me the confidence to write the book, because it was through her that I realized that, the knowledge and experience that I'd acquired over the years was enough to write a book. But like most writers, I doubted myself. I wasn't sure whether it was something that I could do. I wasn't sure whether anyone would actually, want to hear from me. But people in the academy will remember when I went to lock myself away for a week in the Cotswolds. And as I started to write this book, I realized that, I did have a lot to offer, and that this book would really, really impact a lot of people. So I wrote the book. And I have to say, guys, it's a very good book. And naturally, I would say that, but it's an extremely, extremely good book. And before I go on to talk a bit more about the book, I want to share with you five money principles that I've picked up along this entrepreneurial journey. And I hope that you are taking notes. We say note takers are the money makers. So my 5 money principles are as follows. Number 1, residual income. Guys, I now regard myself as a residual income specialist. We're here to talk about property, but those of you that know all of the things that I do will know that everything that I do is about residual income. Guys, if you are in love with residual income, can you just put a number 2 in the comment box? Because honestly, guys, if you are not making residual income right now, you honestly need to do something about it. Guys, residual income is the ability to make money without constantly working for it. Warren Buffett said it best when he said, unless we find ways to make money whilst we are sleeping, we will continue to work for money until the day that we die. Who is sick and tired of just working all the hours God sends for money? Just put a 3 in the chat box if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Guys, if you really understood the power of residual income, you would be prepared to do anything for it. Who is enjoying residual income? I know people in Amey Finance Academy, enjoying their residual income. They get paid every single Friday. In fact, look, many of our members are getting paid every single day now. And if you know, you know. And the second money principle is compound interest, guys. I want you to write down compound interest. You see, Albert Einstein, he said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He or she who understands it earns it, and he or she who doesn't pays it. You see, when I was struggling financially and I had to use credit cards to get by, I used to pay the minimum balance. Guys, that's compound interest working against you. 3, the third money principle is leverage. Being able to leverage, guys. Guys, leverage is a shortcut. You know, you can leverage a system, you can leverage people. JD Rockefeller famously said, I would rather make 1% of 100 people's time than 100% of my own time. If you're enjoying leverage, I want you to put a 5 in the comment box. If you are enjoying leverage right now, if you're enjoying leverage. And number 4 is to make money from money, to make money from money, as opposed to just exchanging our time for money. Warren Buffett said that if we continue to exchange our time for money, we'll be working until the very day that we die. Guys, we have to find ways to not exchange our time for money. Like 95% of the population exchanging time for money. We need to make money from money. And the last money principle is to have multiple sources of income. Guys, if you're enjoying multiple sources of income, I want you to put a 666 in the comment box right now, guys. If you're enjoying multiple, guys, this is biblical. In the Bible, it states very clearly in Ecclesiastes chapter 11, have 7 sources of income, because we do not know what disasters will come upon the land. Guys, we're just, coming out of a global crisis. People in our academy that had extra sources of income, they were calm, to use a vernacular. They were very, very calm. So guys, there you have it. If you enjoyed those money principles, just put a 777 in the chat box. I promise you guys, if you take action towards those money principles, you will go clear. There is no doubting that whatsoever. And the principles in the book really, really highlight that. So guys, as I said, the book is impactful. It's very, very, very good. And my request to you guys is to buy it. Do not hesitate. Buy a copy. You will enjoy it. You will be impacted. And let's really help to push this to become a bestseller. If you believe that this book is going to become a bestseller, I want you to put an 888 in the chat box. If you've already purchased a copy of the book, I want you to put a 999 in the comment box. Guys, when I wrote the book and I showed it to a few people in the industry, I promise you this was their reaction. They said, why are you giving everything away? In fact, one of the speakers on the call right now, he's probably smiling. He said just that. He said, why are you giving everything away? He said, that's not what you do. You're meant to just give them a little bit and then save it for the courses. And I said, no, I don't necessarily want to, run courses because, I'm here, there, and I'm everywhere. I just want to give everyone, I don't want to hold back. I don't want to hold anything back. I want to give everyone. So when I wrote the book, I wanted to write it in a way whereby you can literally take the book and build a 6 and 7 figure business. Like everything is there. I've left no stone unturned. Okay, so I really, really want to make that clear. But then I met a guy called Balaji, who you're going to hear from later, and he impacted me in a way that was tremendous. He found a way in which we could extend the book, and we're looking at ways in which we can turn it into a course. Not that the course, is mandatory, but what it does is it allows people to maybe, be in an environment that's conducive to taking this further and even getting mentorship. And he also told me about something he's working on that's going to take the property industry to a whole new level. So I'm not going to steal his thunder because he's due on just shortly. The first 2 chapters and the last 2 chapters, guys, are non-property related. They're actually mindset related. So the first 2 chapters and the last chapter in particular is called Everyone Has a Plan Until They Are Punched in the Face. Guys, I promise you, when you buy the book, I want you to have that chapter handy. Who's ever been punched in the face before, metaphorically? Who's ever been punched? Who's ever gone through some form of adversity? Just put a 333 in the chat box if you've gone through some kind of adversity, because I took my time when I wrote that chapter. And the reason why is because I know what it's like being an entrepreneur. It's not easy. We think we're going to go like this, but that's not God's plan. It's going to be rocky. Let me tell you one thing. You are going to get punched in the face because you're in the ring with Mike Tyson. You're going to get punched. So when I wrote that chapter, I wanted it to be a chapter that you don't just read and dash, that you come back to it time and time again. And I promise you, it will get you through the darkest valleys. So I really wanted to make that very, very, very clear. You may think you know my story. Some of you probably think you know my story because you've been on a lot of my calls, but I want you to know that you don't. I've really gone into detail in my story in the book. So please don't think, oh, I've heard from this guy so many times, the same dry nuggets. Guys, some of my old nuggets are there, you know, naturally, but there's a few new nuggets in there as well. So guys, even when you buy the book and if you just read a chapter, you know, you can leave a review, you know, so you can, you know, preview it as well. But when you read a chapter, leave a review, you know, even if it's just a chapter, you can actually do that. That's absolutely fine. And when you receive the book, if you don't mind, just, you know, take a picture of it and, you know, put on your social media, tag me in the post. That will do wonders for the book. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to end with reading an extract from the book. I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to share my screen for this as well, so you guys can read along with me. Okay, so here we go. Believe that you can see my screen. Okay, amazing. So it's an extract from chapter 4, service accommodation. Guys, the reason I want to read this out is because this is not familiar to a lot of people. A lot of people know about rent to rent, but maybe not familiar about the amounts of money that can be made, how lucrative service accommodation can be. So let's start. Let me just get rid of these boxes. Let me just move everything over here and get rid of that. And that. Let's start by pointing out what you don't need for a service accommodation. Let's start by pointing out what you don't need for a serviced accommodation business. You don't need tens of thousands of pounds for a down payment. You don't need a mortgage, and you don't need a good credit score either. If there's ever a slump in the real estate market, your business will not be affected. The setup cost might be in the few thousands. Guys, really doesn't really come up to that amount, but let's just say maximum, but certainly not in the tens of thousands. This makes serviced accommodation an incredibly cost-effective business to set up. Well, setting up is just the start, right? In order to make money out of it, you need to get a lot of things right. And this is what this book is about. Have a look at your screen, guys. You can see the flow of payment and the flow of legal contracts. So you can see the flow of legal contracts from the landlord to you, to your online travel agent, to the guests, and you can see the flow of payment going the other way. So the process is generally similar to the rent-to-rent process and involves few parties. It's described below. Just like rent-to-rent, service accommodation also starts with the landlord. You need a property for this business, and we're not talking about buying or getting a mortgage. The landlord will provide you with the property you need. So you come in the process right after the landlord. You take the property from them, you furnish it according to your plans and go about renting it to guests. In order to get guests, you use an online travel agent or OTA. They will find the guests for your units. We will talk about the benefits of using an OTA as opposed to taking direct bookings later. The process ends with the guests. Guests are very different from tenants. This is especially relevant when it comes to the rights, as tenants enjoy quite a lot of those. You can't easily evict a tenant, whereas with a guest, you can remove them immediately if they violate your terms, as they are not a long-term resident. This is the direction of how the process works. Legal contracts will flow in the same direction. You will have the management agreement with the landlord for renting their property. You will then have a contract with the online travel agent, such as Airbnb or bookings.com. The OTA will have their contract with the guests that stay at your unit. You can see another nice diagram here as well. The flow of money goes in the opposite direction. It starts with the guest making a booking by paying the OTA. The OTA pays you after deducting their commission. You take your deductions and then make the rent payment to the landlord. Let's look at this process in more detail. So guys, there you have it. There's an extra. If you are excited about executing that strategy, I want you to put a 111 in the comment box, guys. If you are excited to do that, it's absolutely phenomenal. Those of you that know Tyron, my colleague Tyron, this is how Tyron became a millionaire. No joke. This is how Tyron, those of you that know Tyron, you know about our relationship in the the opportunity where a lot of us are getting paid every single day. He introduced me to that, and he made his millions in service accommodation. So guys, before I wrap up, I do want to thank all of the speakers for being here. Honestly, high caliber. If you knew what it took to get some of the speakers here, guys, you would be thanking me. And to my publisher, Esther, thank you so much for everything that you've done, the encouragement, the support, you know, the accountability. It is not gone unnoticed. Thank you so much. Thank you, Erica, for doing the forward. And of course, all of my thank yous are in the book as well. And to all of you, the guests, for giving up your Sunday. I know some of you had to, you know, rip yourself away from the David Imonite Believe Nation, but you are here and I really, really appreciate it. So guys, I want to end by inviting someone to read a poem. And just to give you the background to this poem, I came into contact with this poem back in 2018. I just joined Mastery Academy, and I was starting my entrepreneurial journey, and I was scared. Does anyone relate to being scared starting an entrepreneurial journey? Just put a 222 in the chat box if you've ever been scared starting an entrepreneurial journey. I was petrified, and Nikki knows now. She invited me to an event that she was doing. It was non-IM related. She was a coach, right? So she was doing an event, and I went along, and there was a lady there, and she was also, you know, at the beginning of her journey, and she said that she was a poet, but you know, she was just kind of starting out, and she read this poem, and I absolutely fell in love with this poem, and it resonated with me because I was at the beginning of my journey, and it was just kind of reassuring. I felt like it was God talking to me directly. That's what I felt like. And then I approached her afterwards. I said, you know, your poem was absolutely beautiful. Can I buy a copy? And she was kind of taken aback because I don't think she was like prepared for that kind of thing. She said, oh, I don't even know what the process is. I've never sold one of my poems before. And I said, look, you just, you know, print it off, you know, send it to me. I'll pay whatever the price is. I need to get my hands on that poem. And here it is, guys. This is the poem she sent to me in the post. You know, I read it from time to time. And, you know, it's something that gave me a lot of confidence when I was at the beginning of my journey. So I'd like to invite Dame Claudine Dewberry, as I make her a co-host. Dame Claudine is someone who I have become very close with recently, and I'd like to invite her now to read the poem. Thank you, Dame, in advance. I've made you a co-host.
Hey everyone, thank you for coming. Thank you, Des. And wow, what can I say? When I got the poem, I thought it sounded so much like you. It's called The Plan. And anybody who knows Des always has a plan. So it says, take one step at a time. Rome was not built in a day. I am with you for each step you take. You want to run before you can walk. My child, relax. This life is not a race. I know your worries, your anxieties and fear. I see your loneliness and your tears. Though I may be silent, I am very much present. Life is a process. Each day is a lesson for tomorrow. The feelings you have are no secret to me. You must go through in order for me to use the gifts that I have placed in you. Without experience, I can't use you. Without knowledge of life, challenge, you will not be a useless tool. I need you to do mighty things, but first you must be shaped and trimmed. Don't you understand that I know how much you can take? I will never give you a load that you cannot handle. You will make it through the other side of the storm. I will make sure that all things work together for your good. You will shine, you will fly, for I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Wow, a powerful poem. And with your permission, I'm going to keep it and use it as well on my journey.
Wow, what an honor. Thank you so much, Dame Claudine. I really, really appreciate that. Over to you, Esther.
Thank you very much, Des. And once again, Claudine, thank you for that amazing poem. It was really heartfelt, really heartfelt. Thank you. The next speaker I have now is Bolaji, and I'm going to introduce him all to you. So Bolaji Olatoye is a firm believer that limits are meant to be exceeded, barriers are meant to be broken, and the status quo is meant to be challenged. His property company, Julo, is a Yoruba word that translates as more than, a mantra that he uses to empower everyone he works with. No matter what your current situation is, there's always room for more. A seasoned entrepreneur and a six-figure earner that's on his way to becoming a seven-figure earner. Bolaji's property specialism includes rent-to-rent as well as sourcing. Bolaji has also combined his property expertise with his digital marketing expertise and is currently disrupting the market to create opportunities for more people to start earning residual income from property. So without further ado, let's all welcome Bolaji to the screen, please. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me, Des. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I'm grateful to be amongst such esteemed company. Des, you mentioned it already, but you know, we're in very, very strong and good company here. All the panelists here, you know, are very, very much doing amazing things. You know, so I'm really, really honored to be here. I'm gonna share my screen. I've got a very, very brief presentation. I only have 12 minutes. So if you bear with me, I'll kind of just walk you through that now. But first of all, I hope everybody's doing well. If you are excited about the launch of Desi's book, please put a 1 in the chat. Let's try that. Let's try putting a 1 in the chat, people. I want to see a lot of 1s. It's exciting time. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, cool. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about digital property strategy. So again, thank you for having me, Des. It's a privilege and an honor. Thanks everybody for taking the time, as Des has said, on your Sunday afternoon. I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to be amongst your company. But who am I? So I'm giving you a very condensed version, just to kind of give you a bit of a flavor of myself and my background, just so you're aware. First and foremost, I'm a family man. So that's myself, that's my wife, that's my daughter. We have one more on the way. Glory to God. And I also have a lot of my family on the call today. So the Olateya family, we always like to show out and support, and I appreciate you. But my background is primarily in the corporate space. So I've worked pretty much in a lot of the corporate investment banks. And my role there has always been to affect digital transformation and optimize processes, and increase sales and improve efficiencies for large companies. But I also, went down an entrepreneurial journey, and I set up my own companies that are doing very similar things, but in different spaces. So I've got the company that Esther mentioned, Julo. It's my property company. Julo stands for more, and essentially we do, property sourcing, rent to rent, and other areas of property. The icon with the sort of head there is Career Sharp. That's my company that I train people in project management and give them opportunities that they would not ordinarily have. And then these are the ones, Aesthetic Sharp, Sharp Shot, Unleashed. These are my digital agency brands where I help companies and SMEs and entrepreneurs to gain more sales using digital systems. And Property Convos is my podcast. So I do a podcast that I talk about how people can, learn more about the property industry, and I speak to people who are at different stages, just to give a bit of an approachable view on, property. But I'm doing a lot of things, but if there is one thing that I, stand for, I was hoping that, you would get that from the intro that was given. My one thing is more, right? So my one thing is more, and this is helping, myself to achieve more, helping anybody who is involved with me in any capacity to achieve more. And I want to just try something. I don't know if you can either unmute or just, say this after me, just to kind of set things up. I want us to get into the right mood. So please, there is room for more. If you can write that in the chat, or if you can say it.
There is
These are
room for
things
more.
that absolutely there is room for more. I can achieve more.
I can achieve more.
I am capable of more.
I'm capable of more.
I'm capable of more.
I deserve more.
I
I
deserve more.
deserve more.
I deserve more.
I am worthy of more.
I am worthy of more.
Worthy of
I
more.
am worthy of more.
Fantastic, fantastic. So these are just things that, you know, I like to say to myself, but I also think it's important for us to say that to ourselves as well. And essentially, what I do is I use digital strategy to help others achieve more. That's the summary of me, the condensed summary. So we're going to talk about digital transformation. What is digital transformation? It's essentially using digital technology to achieve more, making things more efficient by optimizing manual processes or repeated processes. And it often involves, it often involves automation and systemization. So in every industry that I'm in, this is my goal. This is what I'm trying to achieve. How do I get more out of this process? Now, why did I get into property? The number one reason I got into property was obviously financial, but it's on two levels. First of all, financial security and freedom, so cash flow. As you know, Des really pointed out in his 5 principles, one of them was residual income. That's my primary entry point for property, and that's why I got into it. But then the secondary for me is asset wealth, so basically generational wealth. So have things that will last after I'm gone, that will be there to leave a legacy for my family. So one of the main strategies that I'm involved in from a cash flow point of view is rent to rent. So this is essentially making residual income from a property that you don't own. So put in different terms, it's getting the landlord to agree to hand over their property to you to manage in exchange for you giving them a guaranteed rent. So that's rent to rent, and that's basically what rent to rent is. And as Des has mentioned, there's different kind of there's different exit strategies, or there's different things that you can do once you have the property, handed over to you by the landlord. You can go down the service accommodation route. You can go down a route where you rent out multiple rooms of a property, so they call that HMO, and you could do it as a single let. But it starts off by getting the landlord to agree to hand it over to you. So there are two main processes that I like to abstract things. So there's two main processes when I kind of look at the whole rent to rent process. There is the sales part of it, and then there's the management part of it. So sales is essentially how you negotiate with a landlord and how you kind of get a deal done so that they hand you over the keys. And ultimately, without this, there's no money in the bank. And then there's the management, which is essentially the lettings and the tenant management side of things, if we are looking at the sort of HMO route. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the sales process. So not so much the management process of it. I'm going to talk about the sales process. So at a high level, what's involved in getting a landlord to agree to give you their keys or give you their property so that you can manage it or you can take it on. So I've mapped it out in a very simplistic terms. There's more to it than this, but I like to kind of make things really simple and easy to understand. So first of all, you have to identify the landlord. Now, a landlord who would give you, their property would be someone who is in need of, a break. Maybe somebody who's traveled, maybe someone who's not in the country. Maybe they are a portfolio landlord and they just want to retire and they don't want the hassle. Or maybe they're distressed in some way and they need, the cash. So there are ways in which you can identify the landlord. You can find them on various different sources online, or in publications, or on government lists. But ultimately, you find them and then you reach out to them in some way, either on a phone call or via a letter or some kind of outreach. And then you make conversation. They might listen to what you're saying, they might not, but ultimately you're getting on the phone and you're speaking to them. If you get past that post, then there is the opportunity to stack the deal. So you check that the numbers work out well. You'll check that you can make an offer where you come out of the deal with a good amount of money monthly, but then you make them an offer. And if they accept the offer, close the deal. And then there are two typical high-level routes that I can typically go through in my rent-to-rent process. So one of them would be I would take on the property and manage it myself. So I would be party to the monthly income, or I would sell that deal to someone else, and I would collect what is called a sourcing fee. So those are the two exits, from a closing of a deal of a rent-to-rent sales process, as the way I see it. So deal value from a rent-to-rent. So this is not service accommodation. This is just rent-to-rent. Typically, if you manage it yourself, you can get about 600 to 800 per month. Some deals you can get 1,000 and over, depending on which part of the country that you're in. And then if you're selling it to someone else from a sourcing perspective, so we've done a couple where we can sell the deal on to someone for 2.5K to 4K, in some cases even higher, depending on the characteristics of the deal. So those are at least two ways in which you can quickly make money, and you don't have to really put hardly any money into these kind of situations. But there is one major challenge that I wanted to highlight, and the typical process that I've just described, it relies on you seeking out the landlord. So what that really means is you're dealing with outbound, sales essentially. So you're getting on the phone, you're essentially cold calling. It might be unsolicited. So you'll have to deal with landlords that are probably not expecting your call, or might not even want to hear from you. So there's barriers that you have to go through. And I've experienced this a lot. Like getting on the phone where somebody doesn't want to hear from you is stressful. It can be stressful, right? But what I want you guys to do, if possible, just write in the chat, stress is not my portion. Stress is not my portion, because I'm going to show you how stress won't be your portion. But if you guys are still, can you guys still hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, cool. So, and then in my experience, I found that I spent a lot of time on the phone. I was doing 20 to 50 calls a day. It was exhausting, like really, really exhausting. So I was thinking to myself, okay, surely there's got to be a better way to, get a landlord on my side. Surely there's a better way to do this whole rent-to-rent prospecting thing, right? So I was asking myself, what if there was another way? What if landlords could come to me instead of me going to them? What if I could get inbound leads instead of outbound outreach to shortcut the sales process? Because as I've described, that whole process of getting a landlord and talking to them and speaking to them and reaching out to them, it can take a massive chunk of your time, and you haven't even begun to think about the rest of the things in the process. So, the deal negotiation, the doing up of the property, the lettings, the management, all of those things, are kind of bottlenecked at this top end of the sales process. So I was asking myself, imagine if I could, get my time back, be more present with the family, work on the business instead of working in the business. This is something that I would really, for myself, want. So I now decided to think, okay, let's put my digital transformation head on, and let's see how we can approach this a different way. So what I essentially did is I now changed the process that I was doing, and I made one key adjustment. Instead of having to call the landlords, I had the landlords call me. Now, how did I do that? I essentially put together a targeted campaign, and I use very specific messaging that would reach out to the specific people that I knew had properties and had the problems that my service would solve. And then it changed the whole paradigm. So I now started getting inbound leads. And that for me was actually very, very refreshing, because I still had to make calls. I still had to take calls. I still had to make offers, but I had to make less at the top end because they were coming to me. And it's such a different kind of experience when you have somebody who is calling you, asking for your help, as opposed to you calling them, offering your help that they didn't ask for. Changes the game completely. So let me just pause this for a second. So I did a test, right? So I did a campaign targeted at landlords. And I thought, okay, if I can find a portfolio landlord looking to retire, looking to spend time with their family, tired of tenant hassle, they want peace of mind, they want to enjoy their best years, what kind of message would I say to that landlord to get them to be, interested to call me back? So this is what I did. Can you hear the audio?
No.
No.
Oh, you can't. Okay, 1 second. 1 second. Let me share with audio. 1 second. I think it's not sharing. Bear with me 1 second, guys.
Guys, put a 4 in the chat box if you're enjoying this so far.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
I'm loving this.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's try that again. So this is the video that we did.
Is it playing your end?
Oh, wait. Let me try that again. Sorry, I'm paused on the sharing. Is the charm, guys. That time is an absolute charm. Let's try that again.
Perfect.
Hi, my name's George, and I'm a landlord in London. I've worked hard over the years, and now I have quite a few properties in my portfolio. But I'm also a little older now. My family's grown. I've even got a few grandchildren. I prefer to spend my time enjoying the finer things in life now, like playing with my grandchildren, going for walks, long drives, and even travel the world. Dealing with leaky pipes, late rent payments, or tricky tenants isn't really what I want to spend my time doing. That's why I went to landlorddelight.com. I was able to show them my property. They viewed it, made an offer, and within a few weeks it was all sorted. Now my rent payments come in like clockwork every month, and I couldn't be happier. I get to spend as much time as I want with my family and enjoy the finer things in life. I'm even thinking of doing this with my other properties too. If you're a landlord in London and you're looking for a hassle-free, rent-guaranteed service, book your free consultation with landlorddelight.com today.
Okay, so yeah, that was one of the videos that we did, and we kind of like layered that onto a campaign, and we built what was known as a funnel, and we did Facebook ads, and we had some content strategies that were causing landlords to respond to our ad, and then we were following up with them automatically using our system, and the leads were coming in, and we had a very strong sort of pipeline. We tested it just for a little bit, just not even a month, 40 plus leads, pipeline value of about 60K, and offers accepted of about 25K just for our test. So I just thought I'd share that with you because I only have 12 minutes. But what I was also thinking is, if this could work for me, if there's something that, could this benefit other people? And, from speaking to Des has been saying, there's people that might be interested in this sort of thing. And I just reminded myself, this is an area in which I can, use my digital strategy hat to help others achieve more in the property space. Because I'm very much aware, once you have your training in rent to rent or property, the next thing is, okay, how do I go and get a deal? How do I get started? And I thought this would be something that would be very much helpful for those who need a kickstart in their property journey as it comes to rent to rent or even service accommodation. So it's coming soon. I've had my arm twisted by Des, and we're working on an inbound property leads system. So we're going to make available the exact same strategy that I've just described, but it will be experienced in a way that you will be able to, receive the leads. You'll have a pipeline management system and templates on, what to say, how to respond, as well as training. It's coming soon. It's probably going to be available in, I would say, August, end of August, but we're still working that out. But there's definitely want me to mention that. He didn't want me to come on and not mention that. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm not sure if I've gone over my 12 minutes, but I would say thank you very much for having me. And it's been a pleasure to speak to you all today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Balaji. That was amazing. Thank you. Okay, the next person we have now, I'll be inviting on Alicia Banton to sing a song. Alicia, over to you.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops way above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. If birds fly over the rainbow, why then, oh, why can't I? Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I? Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true.
Wow, well done, Alicia. Can we all give her a round of applause?
Massive congratulations to you, Des. I'm so proud of you, bro. And I'm just so excited to witness your journey to higher heights. Keep climbing. Love you lots. Take care.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Des, over to you for the free book giveaway.
Wow, 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 wow. Guys, can I get a wow, wow, wow in the chat box, please, guys? Can I get a wow, wow, wow? And an extra wow on top. Guys, I've been keeping her under my sleeve. You know, she serenaded me some time back, and I've just been waiting for an opportunity to unleash the mighty Alicia Banton on you all, and I'm sure you'll all agree that her voice is absolutely stunning. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you doing that. So guys, yeah, keep those wow, wow, wows coming through. Okay, so right now, guys, we're gonna do the three. I'm gonna do a three. In fact, I'm gonna do all my giveaways right now, Esther. I think I'm gonna do all my giveaways. We just do all my, yeah, I'm gonna do all my giveaways at one time, guys. So what we're gonna do three free book giveaways. Then I'm gonna do a £200 Amazon voucher. You know, my new business partner, Amazon. And then we're gonna do a $200 Bitcoin giveaway as well. How's that, guys? Is that good? Can we put a 3 in the chat box if that's okay? So we free books, a £200 Amazon voucher, and then a 200. That's like dollars or pounds for the Bitcoin. I said dollars. Let's make it pounds. £200 Bitcoin giveaway. So guys, that's what we're gonna do. What we're gonna do right now, guys, we're gonna head over to Instagram. And if you don't have an Instagram account, then unfortunately you are not eligible to take part. And you're gonna head over to my very last post that I posted this morning. It is the book out now. And what I want you to do is I want you to write in the comments one of my favorite sayings. One of my favorite sayings. You can take your pick. If it's the first time that you're seeing me today, then my first question is why? Why is this the first time? But you can just copy someone else. You can just copy somebody else. So just write down one of my favorite sayings. I just seen a wow come through straight away. I don't think I say wow as much as I say let's go. Let's go. But guys, let's go. Let's head over. One of my favorite sayings. There's lots to choose from. That's all you've got to do to take part. If you're not sure, just copy somebody else. You can use wow if you want, no problem at all. And then what I'm gonna do is we're gonna start with. Well, I'll give you a few seconds just to kind of let that settle down. Oh, some people. Okay, so I see some private messages coming through. If we can do it as a comment, so I can see some of my aunties on the call that may not have an Instagram account. I'm sorry, aunties. Auntie Yav, you got is Auntie Yav got a Auntie Yav, do you have an Instagram? I don't think we're following each other. Well, I can see some other aunties on here as well. See Auntie Irene. Wow. Okay. Somebody said it's done. Okay, right. Let's. Okay. I've never been so popular on Instagram. Wow. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, so I'm gonna scroll and I'm gonna ask Esther to say stop, and it's gonna be the first book giveaway. So anyone who wins a prize, just slide in my DMs. Oh, can you make a note? Make a note of these, please. Yeah. And then slide in my DMs, and I'll just get you sorted out. Don't worry, I'm as good as my word. So, okay, so Esther, if you just tell me to stop.
Yep, perfect. Stop.
It was a Chair Lady 500, Amey Talbot, who have just left. We were just in Hull together, right? So Amey, you have a book coming your way. I know you've already bought the book, so you can obviously give that to a team member. Well done to Amey, and I'm going to go again. So this time I'm going to ask Erica Freeman, if you don't mind coming off mute and telling me to stop.
Okay, keep going.
Ooh. Are you trying to wait for me to target your name?
Stop.
Lorraine J _66. She said, nothing changes if nothing changes. I didn't read out Amey's one. Amey said, if you don't come from a wealthy family must come from you. Absolutely, Amey. So that was Lorraine. Yeah, Lorraine James. She said, nothing changes if nothing changes. That's another book out to Lorraine. So the third and final book. So who should I ask for this one? Delapo, if you don't mind, telling me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay. The Sapphire Tea. She said, see you at the top because the bottom is far too crowded. Guys, right now I'm looking at the bottom of the Canary Wharf Tower and it's not as crowded as I would have liked for this little example. But metaphorically, it's very crowded at the bottom. So Sapphire, powerhouse, absolute powerhouse is Sapphire. A book is coming out to you. That was the third book, right? So I've done 3 books, right? So, okay, so now we've got the Amazon voucher. Amazon, who, where you purchased the book from, Amazon. So a £200 Amazon voucher. So there we go. My eyes are closed. Who am I asking now? I'm going to ask Alicia Banton, if you don't mind.
Okay. Stop.
Okay. JUMC Cloud 1. wrote wow, wow, wow with a smiley face. JUMC Cloud 1. Slide into my DMs, please, and let me know. But yeah, wow, wow, wow. You have a £200 Amazon voucher. Massive congratulations. And is my son still on the call? Donnell, are you still on the call? Donnell Amey, are you still on the call? Oh, really? Let's see if he's still on the call. Okay, then I can see Donnell there. Okay, then I'm gonna make you a co-host, but don't abuse it. You still there, Donnell? All right. Yeah. Okay, well, that's on us. Balaji. Okay, Balaji. When you are ready. Oh, this is for the £200 Bitcoin. Bitcoin. So you must have a Bitcoin wallet. If you desperately don't have one, then I will give you the cash. But I like crypto, right? So I prefer to give you. Oh, Danielle's okay. All right. I just had a message from my daughter saying, "Can she do it?" So sorry, Balaji, if you don't mind.
No problem.
Okay. I'm assuming Danielle's on Donnell's account. So, Danielle, if you want to come off. How you doing, baby? Okay?
Yeah.
You having a good day?
Yeah.
Are you enjoying it so far?
Yeah.
What's been your favorite part of the program?
All of it.
Oh, great answer. Very diplomatic. You should be a politician. Okay, or maybe not. Okay, right. So, you want to tell Daddy when to stop? When you're ready, babes.
Stop.
I am Sandra Lowell from Manchester. She said nothing. She won the last Bitcoin giveaway at their last event. Hey, what is this? I don't even want. This is some. Sandra, what is happening here? You won the last one at David Game. I just sent you Bitcoin, Sandra. Literally, I just sent you Bitcoin. How are you getting all of this Bitcoin? I am Sandra Lowell. Bitcoin is your way. Thank you, Danielle. You've got summer school in the morning, so you better get some sleep. It's not cheap. Make sure you get some sleep, okay? Congratulations to Sandra. Congratulations to everyone for taking part as well. And I'm gonna hand swiftly back. In fact, let's just put a 777 for all of the winners. Let's put a 777. Don't be too depressed, guys. You know, if you didn't win, you know, I know there's a temptation to be down in the dumps. You know, I might do a surprise one later. Who knows? But I'm gonna hand right back to Esther to keep things ticking along. Isn't Esther doing a wonderful job, guys? Can we just put an AAA in the chat box for Esther? Wow, can you see why I chose her to publish my first book? Absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much, Des. Oh, well done to all the winners as well. I'm hoping next time I'll be able to win one, Des. So remember me, yeah?
Fix it.
Okay, our next speaker is Dolapo, the amazing Dolapo, and I will read a brief bio about her too. So Dolapo has built up an 8-figure property portfolio with her husband since quitting her city job 8 years ago. Alongside family life with her children, she has done developments and built up a 6-figure rent-to-rent serviced accommodation portfolio on the side. She also specializes in buying in auctions and has been featured in Homes Under the Hammer. I love that show, amazing show. One of her first ever properties purchased in auction was bought without seeing it, and her most flamboyant purchase was a gorgeous church which had lapsed planning for 7 to 10 flats. Her main strategy is buying distressed properties and then combining with the BRRR method, which stands for buy, refurbish, refinance, and rent, to extract the value by reconfiguring the property and renting it out. She is host of the huge popular Property Mum podcast, which demystifies property and how to do it whilst juggling property with family life, motherhood, and raising 2 wonderful young kids. So without further ado, let us all congratulate and welcome Dolapo, please. Welcome, Dolapo.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here, and thank you for inviting me to speak as well. And Des, congratulations on your book launch. You know, I don't know, those of you who have tried to write a book, you know how painful it is, that process. And, you know, it's something I aspire to do. So definitely kudos to you that you're able to complete it. And you're also able to launch it at such a really, really lovely occasion. It's been amazing. I was telling Des earlier, I just love the fact that he's infused family, with his business, and just, it just makes for a whole, a rounded personality, as opposed to somebody who's just, if you watch like Wall Street back in the 80s, where you see those capitalistic men who will just kill anyone just to make it in industry. But, it's all about being that person who also has a family and who also is all about people as well. So, kudos to you, and, I wish your book launch all the best and success and greater heights and even bigger books in the future. So I'm seeing that. Yeah. So it's really great to be here. And my whole thing is, it's all about property, right? So, when I heard about this and Bolaji had told me about it, I was like, I definitely love to be part of it, because it's one thing. And when I was speaking to Des about, and he talked about his principles, understanding principles is so fundamental when it comes to creating wealth and actually achieving anything meaningful. You have to understand the principles of wealth creation, understand the principles of property investing. How do you become somebody who's successful? So you watch people who've been successful before you. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Honestly, when I discovered that in life, I realized just copy paste, follow this person. They did A, do B, just follow them. A to Z is already done for you. And the amazing thing is that because your story is different, you will still, even though you're copying, somehow or the other, it still becomes your own. So you're not, it's funny how your journeys are different, the people the associations So in my presentation, I'm going to talk a lot about partnerships, because the power of partnerships, when I look through my own journey, it's completely about partnerships and leveraging off of people. Des was talking about one of the fundamental principles is leverage. So, I hope today, by the time I'm done talking, the one thing you take away is open your eyes. There's something about accessing hidden wealth that's hidden in secret places. Like your eyes will be open to see where wealth is hidden around you. Because the minute that I stepped out and I started to invest in property and let people know that I invest in property, then money that I didn't know, existed started to show up, right? And it's not to say that it's easy to get access to that money, but the truth is, if you're consistent, it will come. Okay, so I'm going to try and share my screen so I can talk through a presentation. I have about 25 minutes. So I'm going to try and keep to that. But yeah, so far, really, really great. And Bolaji, it was really good hearing your story as well. And, Bolaji, of course, always so encouraging. And, we had a joint podcast event where we both interviewed each other. And that's how we met, actually. And, we've gone on to do different things together. And Bolaji is such a, you've been so encouraging in so many ways. So thanks for that. So can you see my screen by any chance? I'm trying to share my slides.
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. Okay, let me just pull it up. Okay. So I titled this, How to Get Started Investing in Property, Your Micro Strategy. So of course, different people talk about their investing strategies and how they've gotten into property. But I feel like there's almost what I was talking about, the copy paste, where within that, you will then define what is your micro strategy in a sense. There's rent to rent, but one day you'll discover your own form of what rent to rent looks like. It's not going to necessarily be in the same location somebody else is successful in. It could be closer to you, it could be further away from you, but at some point you will begin, what they say about things will start to connect. You will begin to see, okay, this and this aligns for me to actually go in this direction of rent to rent. And I'm going to tell you how that happened for me. So I use a lot of case studies and numbers. So, I'm going to try and keep it as simple for those that are not, that are newbies, because really my whole aim is about newbies getting into property. And, I feel like everyone has a strategy, a property strategy hidden within them. They just don't know. But, as you can tell, I love property, and you'll find out more why. Because I feel like property gave me a life that I didn't think about. The only other, entity I would say that's given me a more incredible life is God. And, my next thing other than family is property for sure. Because, I remember when I made the decision to start investing in property, I was working full time in the city. And at that time, I pretty much had thought, oh, I'll just do this on the side. as well as continue my career. And within 2 years, I realized, you know what, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. And I was able to match my salary very quickly. So I just thought, why would I keep going to work, right? But it's all about understanding how that happens for you. So to give some context about myself, I'm somebody, I think Esther mentioned that I host the Property Mom podcast, which I started actually in the lockdown when we were all on lockdown. And so the only thing was to take to the airwaves. And so that was really a very interesting experience. And that's how I met Walaji as well. And it opened up a lot of opportunities as well. And, you know, historically, my company, Citygate Property, built up Citygate Property over and Citygate Homes as well. And Citygate Partnerships more recently to work with other people who want to get into property and really just working with them on deals together. And then London Short Stays, I'll talk to you about how that came about. And it's all part of the journey. So of course, you know, projects through the years, it's always good to get some context as to who's speaking. You know, I've worked on different things, house conversions to flats, rear extensions, HMOs, and then lofts, but rent to rent, I would say, if I was to pick two strategies that have been really defining for me, it's been buying through auctions and rent to rent. So you'll notice that a lot of people use rent to rent as a strategy, a cash flow strategy, and you'll see why that is. Because even though I got into property thinking I was going to buy and sell and get income through flipping, eventually I realized actually I need the velocity of money to be working faster for me. So what is velocity of money? So that's how quickly you can turn around funds. Okay, so how quickly can you get funds to come into your bank account on a daily basis? Is it on a monthly basis? So with property investing, a lot of times you find that, you know, you have this long lead project, so you have funds tied down for 6 months. You can't survive that way. I don't care how amazing your flips are. Somehow you need money coming in on a regular basis for it to work. It's just something about business and running business. And so I very quickly discovered that I needed quicker velocity. So given some context as to how I got here, you know, I born and raised in Nigeria, came over here after I studied in the US, and then came over here, started working in BP. I'd worked a bit in the US. And the reason why I'm giving all of this is how it all plays into my own story. Because the interesting thing is that because I was based in Nigeria, I grew up with entrepreneurial parents. That meant I was predisposed to being entrepreneurial. Then I schooled in America, and America is very much a capitalistic environment. It meant that I did my MBA there as well. So I understood finance, I understood financial concepts that, you know, I studied about it. I may not necessarily have understood it practically, but eventually it became very relevant when I started property investing, okay? Now, with that, I then moved into BP. And with BP, what that taught me was more project management, because I did a lot of project management and I dealt with quite a lot of, you know, higher net worth individuals, which meant that I understood how to work with them. And it built me up to be the person that could then become an entrepreneur, that could then run my business. And all of the different things that, you know, this is how life is. All the different things you're doing in life, just like Des was saying, teaching, investing, all these things, they start to piece together to then formulate what strategy you're going to end up in. And of course, the fact that I end up in the auctions is also not surprising, because my dad had bought the first ever property that I knew about in auction. So it all stems from, you know, your history and your life, all pieces together to create what will become your strategies. Okay, so life is really about discovering what that purpose is and discovering how you can align it to your property journey. Okay, so in a nutshell, I would say auctions, rent to rent, and service accommodation. And I'll talk about how those three different strategies form my micro strategy in terms of my own property journey, okay? Because one of the things about, like I said, is that even though I understood how to acquire funds and invest, I also needed the velocity of money through rent to rent, okay? So for rent to rent, it ended up being a situation where I'd rent the property, I'd sublet it under the approval of the landlord, and then I'll earn income from service accommodation. So service accommodation at the time, starting out from I got into service accommodation about 2011. Service accommodation was a very strong cash flow strategy on an ongoing basis. And then another thing why service accommodation was amazing is because I'd been buying in auction, And so buying at the time was very easy to acquire property. Imagine it's a completely different time to now. Now, finding good properties is very difficult. In 2008, 2009, finding good properties was very easy. The streets were awash with properties, like they were begging you to get properties off them. But that meant that it was very difficult to sell. Okay, so you would buy a property, yeah, you do the add value, do all of that, but the problem was selling would take so long. In the meanwhile, I didn't want to leave those properties empty. I did that on my first deal, and I realized I paid 5 months worth of mortgages, even though I got an offer 2 weeks after the property went to market, right? So I realized very quickly that I needed something that would be bringing in income while I was trying to sell the properties. And that's how I discovered service accommodation. So it wasn't service accommodation rent to rent at the time. It was just service accommodation because I needed to fill those properties with temporary clients or guests. And I discovered the magic that is service accommodation because I couldn't believe the differential in the rates. So I remember the first time somebody called me and said, oh, I see you have a property on the market. Is that per night? And I was like, what? How is that per night? That's per week, you know, just to discover that literally, you know, the amounts that we're charging for long-term rentals pretty much are almost, you know, on a weekly basis can almost be converted to nightly basis if you are renting it on a nightly or even if it's a weekly basis. So very quickly, I realized that there was an arbitrage to be created between renting the properties directly from the landlord and then renting them out for service accommodation specifically, not HMOs, service accommodation, because I'm based in London. And so as a London investor, getting access to people who are coming on holidays, people who are coming on corporates, it wasn't as difficult. And just like Des said, on the OTAs, Airbnb, Booking.com, actually this is even pre-Airbnb. At that time, it was still HomeAway, VRBO, and those companies. And you could just easily get people to fill your properties. Okay, and so that helped me to get away from the crunch that happens when you're an investor, where if you're buying property, then all your money goes into the funding and to the investment and to the refurbishment. But meanwhile, it then released me to be able to do what I wanted to do because I had ongoing daily income. So especially in the summer, for those of you who have been in service accommodation, the summer months are amazing months because literally on a daily basis, you know, like you have income coming in daily, right? So it's a very, very strong strategy. And definitely for those who have the appetite and you know, it's what I would call an active strategy. Is definitely not passive. So it's not something you do as well as, you know, running a full-time job, unless you're going to hire somebody else, or if you just have one or two. If you're going to build a portfolio, it's something that is not, it definitely takes a lot of time, but it's very rewarding. Okay. Well, in a sense, it replaced my full-time job. So I was investing and I had service accommodation. Okay. So now we're down to joint ventures. And remember, I was talking about accessing wealth in hidden places. And my whole thing is with the power of joint ventures in creating wealth. Because in 2008, when I started, I only had £15,000 in the bank, right? So at the end of the day, I was like, I know I want to buy property, but how am I actually going to buy this property while, you know, with this amount? The good thing is at the time, there were 95% loan to value mortgages, and that's where the bank will give you 95%. You only need to raise 5%. But 15,000 still wasn't enough. And then enters joint ventures. So I met somebody who was a friend who was also working in the city, and we just used to talk. We were not that close. We actually met through a mutual friend, and we just had very, very aligned interests. And one of the things that then happened after that was we started talking. She needed to move from where she was renting, and we started having the conversation. Why not just buy something together? I'll become your tenant. She would move from her rented property into this property, and she would then be guaranteed to pay the rent of one room, and then we'll rent out the other. And so that's how we formed together, created a joint venture, bought the property together. And it was an amazing buy because we literally bought it just as the market crashed. So our first offer was laughed at. It was like, ha, like, forget it. Like, we're not accepting that offer, ridiculous offer. And then they called us back 2 weeks when all of the banks had just kind of gone into turmoil. Lehman Brothers had crashed, everything. They were just like, you know what, we're just going to take what we have, rather than wait for the market, which is obviously in free fall at this point. So we were very lucky in terms of the timing, but we can't talk about luck as something that just stands alone. We literally built up to it, right? It wasn't something we just started talking about the day before. We've been talking about this for at least 6 months. I had been preparing for this at least 3 years because 2005 is when my first interest in property started. And I started going to view auction properties, just going to see what was going on. At the time, there were just no properties that seemed to match what I was looking for. But when the financial crisis happened, Remember where I talked about connecting the dots? Everything I'd learned in my MBA, everything I'd learned about the markets, everything just came into play. It was like, this is the time to be buying property, because this is the time when there's blood on the streets, right? So this is the time you want to be investing. And so that's why I went full in 2008, 2009, and just started buying and buying. And actually, so we talk about how do you go from 15,000 and then being able to raise enough of a deposit to buy property. Then the first thing was, I had done that with my friend, and that created the history to be able to then go to family. Because sometimes I say, you have access. You may say, oh, my family's not rich, whatever. There are people around you. Somebody woke up today with the resources that you need, right? Somebody around you knows somebody. Okay, so it's really about being open. And then I've been part of a program, and one of the things that the program teaches is about, you get what you pitch for. So literally, if you go about pitching, oh, I don't know anyone who has money, I don't know anyone who does this, then you get that. But the minute you start changing what you say and start saying things like, look, somebody in this world has the access that I need. Somebody that is in my sphere of influence knows somebody that can connect me to the access to the resources that I need. Okay, so change that mentality to one of opportunity. Okay, so that's just a mindset thing, right? But the thing is that I then went with what I had, which is the investment I'd done with my friend. And then I turned around and then started looking and just telling the story. You know, it's all about the story, telling the story to other people. Like, this is what happened. This is, you know, if you do have funds, let's work on it. I talked to family, I talked to different people, and eventually, you know, was able to raise the funds for that first investment in auction, right? And because the market was so low, you know, at the time when I went to the auction, this is where I talked about the property I bought blind. I just was sitting in the auction. I'd been going to speculate, look at different properties, but then I'm sitting in the property in the auction. And I mentioned in my last podcast, a friend of mine who, I always say that even just to decide what lunch he's going to have, he would do like this full sort of financial analysis spreadsheet. He had bought a property in Southeast London, and he bought it for almost £200,000. And hey, I'm sitting in an auction, and the same property in the same block, not the exact same property, but like in the same block, is going for 100,000, and they're literally going to. So I'm like, I'm sorry, no matter what happens, he has to make money first. I'm already £90,000 ahead of the game. I'm going to buy this property. I've never seen this property. What's the worst that can happen? I already have 90K in here. I know somebody in this world that bought this property for 90K more than I did 6 months ago or 7 months ago. So at that point, I just put up my hands and I was just like, you know, we'll figure it out. So, you know, and sometimes that's the thing. It's about being a risk taker, but also it's an educated risk. Okay, it's educated. There are many things that could have gone wrong, to be fair, but it worked out very well. And that's about the opportunity as well. So really, when you're talking about your own journey, it's about thinking about, okay, who can I access? Who can I joint venture with? Don't try and be an island doing it on your own. Try and see who you can partner with to create the wealth you want. Okay, and so now I just want to ask the question. So if you have 1,000, 10,000, or 100,000, I think historically we all believe that you have to have at least 100,000 to invest in property. Now we know that even with 10,000, it's possible through rent-to-rent strategies. So we have the control strategies, we have services which you can provide, which also give you income. And then you have ownership strategies. So usually starting from 30K onwards, you can acquire a property that you own. Well, we all know now that control strategies are also equally powerful and actually have much stronger return on investment because you're starting with 10,000 or less, right? And then some of the services strategies are even less than that. They're 1,000. That's literally the cost of training and the cost of setting up your website. And you can go to market. So things like deal sourcing, once you understand how deal sourcing works. You know, one of the ones that worked for me, like I said, everything that's connected for me has been around service accommodation. It's something called service accommodation brokerage, where you don't even have to rent the property. You just have to know the people that actually own the property and connect them with people who want to come into country. So, or people who need short-term rental, you know, and you broker that, you know. So when I discovered service accommodation brokerage, I was like, are you joking? Like, this is another way to make money just from not even owning or renting or no rent to rent, nothing, literally just matching them. And so that strategy has stayed with me because there's no reason not to. You know, I'll always get people who are requesting properties for short let. I'll always know people who have. It's all about partnership. It's about connecting the dots, connecting the people together. Okay. So this is where I talk about accessing wealth in hidden places. So you control the assets, or you control it either by connecting with the person who actually owns the asset, connecting with somebody who actually has income or has investment, and working with that person. So this is obviously targeted to people who don't have that initial capital. So to give an example of that first joint venture partnership, so let's talk about the actual numbers, which I still own this property till today. Purchased at 250K. And what I was saying was the 5% deposit at that time, right? Plus legal fees meant that the overall amount that we had to raise was 15,000, right? And so recently, and this is the thing with property, is that at the time I didn't know strategies. I didn't know about adding value to the property. You know, you start where you know and build from that. And I didn't know about reconfiguring the property. I didn't know about all of those different things that could then add so much value to the property. But as time went, in the lockdown, we then decided, you know what, this property, there's so much space in there. Why do we have it as a 2-bed when we can increase our rental income, convert it into a 3-bed, moved it from 1,400 a month to 1,850 per month, you know, just by doing a simple, 15K refurb. So, you know, it's all about understanding how you can look at your portfolio, revalue it, rejig it, you know, do whatever it is to do to just add value to it as well. Okay, so for those of you that have properties, always about understanding how can you leverage off of the existing portfolio you have, how can you extract. So this year I've been so aggressive because I feel like this is a good year to also be acquiring property. And you know, I've been looking at my portfolio. Where can we get money out? Where can we pull out, extract, refinance, and move on, and just rebalance the portfolio, because this is an acquisition, you know, season for me. Okay. So, one of the things that I like doing is also just talking about the lessons learned, so people understand some of the things that go into buying a property with someone else. So, for instance, we talk about joint ventures, but joint ventures are not always easy or plain sailing. Ours happened to be because we did all of the legwork that was required before we actually, you know, before we actually bought property. We made sure we knew each other, we had the same goals, aligned expectations, had the same understanding of, you know, what we were getting into. We understood our roles, we celebrated our strengths, we also tolerated our weaknesses. You know, these are the type of things that you need to work through as well when you're working with joint venture partners. So it's being very clear on that as well. And then also maintain spreadsheets, made sure we had our paperwork in order, and we also had different exit strategies, such as if somebody got married, what would we do, and all of that. And it worked out quite well because I bought her out eventually. Okay, and so the second example of partnerships, and just to check on time, how many minutes do I have left? Sorry, Esther, are you speaking?
Hello?
Oh, sorry, I was just checking on time because I'd kind of lost track.
Oh, that's fine. You've got 10 minutes.
Okay, good. Okay, so so the next one was a property bought in auction, and I talk about partnerships because even this property was also acquired with an investor. So there are different types of partnerships. In the first one, it was equal. We both brought funds together to the table, and we both invested in the property. In this case, I was bringing sweat equity, and sweat equity is where I'm sourcing the property, I'm refurbishing the property to add value, I'm identifying where we're going to add value to, how we're going to achieve it, and I'm proposing that to an investor. And this is where I talk about accessing wealth in hidden places. I was telling Des, my first ever investor, I literally left work on another viewing. So I used to take my lunchtime to go view properties because they had fixed viewing slots. And I came out of the station literally on my way to viewing the property. And then someone comes out of his own hotel room where he was staying, he was here on holiday, and he runs into me and is like, "What are you doing here in the middle of the workday?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm here to view a property. You know, I've now gotten into property investing." I said, "Oh, I'd like to know more about that. I used to invest in property when I lived here." And pretty much he said, "If you find any deals, let me know." And I took his number and I saved it as investor number one, like literally. So it turns out that he wanted to really invest in the UK. So every single auction that I then started looking through, any deals that I found, I was sending it to him and like, don't like it, until finally we found a couple of deals. And this was the third one that we did together. So he funded the cash element. And at this point, we're done moderately okay in the deals we've done before. You know, the market was hard. So, you know, at the end, I would still make pretty close to forecasted rates. But, at the end of the day, by the time a lot of costs come out, the margins weren't great. They were okay. For UK standards, they were amazing because I was returning to him about 16% per annum. But because he was an overseas investor, they just used much larger return on investment. That's fine. I did my own duty. But the interesting thing was this deal then turns out to be one of my first 6-figure flip, because I bought the property. I remember after the auction, somebody walks up to me and says, "You paid too much for that property." And I just looked at him like, yeah, you have no idea. Because for me, that was a deal, because I already knew what I wanted to do with the property, right? I knew I wanted to add value to it. And the refurb didn't cost that much. At that time, builders were not as aware as they are now. So you could still get a refurb all in done. By the time I costed it, I didn't spend more than 17,000 on this. It was about 16,000, just odd. And pretty much 18 months later, had it rented the whole time, 18 months later, sold it for 400. And we split it 50-50 because I did all the work. I took care of the property and I returned the investment, and it was a really good investment for him. Okay, so it's all about you building up the expertise and building up the knowledge as well, so you can do these types of deals, because money is out there waiting. And as long as you have tenacity and you have, you go about looking for deals, you will find investors. You definitely will. Okay. And the other thing I always say is that don't overestimate the power of your network, or underestimate, I should say, because the truth of the matter is people don't necessarily want to invest with people they don't know. So yes, Des is all well and good and he's great, right? And he builds the credibility so he can attract a lot of investors. But most people can't just attract investors that they don't know, because they want to know where you live in a sense, right? So a lot of times when you're starting out, don't underestimate the people that are around you in your network, because they will become, and what I say, it's not even your friends, it's the friends of your friends that usually that's where the money is, right? Because you don't have enough closeness to those guys for it to impact on the relationship. So it tends to be a very professional relationship that you can maintain. And there's a bit of credibility because you both have mutual friends. So you want to be looking. I find that a lot of my investors come from that network where somebody refers me or somebody knows me. And so there's a bit of that trust. I still have to do a bit to earn a bit more. But at the end of the day, that's where a lot of your investors do come in, until you then build up the credibility. And then now I can be talking to people who don't know me from anywhere. And because I have a track record, then it's easier to sell. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I'm sure different people have different approaches, but I always say it's definitely an easier way to get into the market than trying to pitch people who don't know you from anywhere. But that's my own philosophy. So flips from joint ventures as well. So flips from somebody owning their property, flips through joint ventures. Joint ventures for flips, joint ventures for property ownership. And I've done joint ventures for rent to rent as well. So literally I'll do joint ventures for anything. And so this slide pretty much is how rent to rent saved my business, because I'm sure anybody who's gone into property investing in any capacity will understand that there's always a squeeze on your cash flow. So the truth of the matter is rent to rent, like I said earlier, was the way I built that ongoing cash flow that created that quick turnaround time with money. It means money comes into your account daily, as opposed to waiting for months for you to sell that flip and then you can earn income. Okay, so then the micro strategy that then came out of that. So I always say that you have sort of the global strategy that is more, okay, rent to rent. Then from that, as you start to work it, you start realize actually this area works for me, or this type. Some people I know have rent to rent for social housing. They've discovered that that's where their passions lie, and that's the direction in which they go, right? So mine was more finding that brokerage bit, which is I don't want to rent all the properties that I manage for service accommodation, because it's a high risk strategy for sure, as we discovered in the lockdown, because I was definitely impacted by the lockdown when people stopped coming into London, where most of my properties were, where I was going from 6 figures to like literally like no figures because they announced the lockdown, got a whole array of booking cancellations, refunds, constant, just drama galore. And now, so for me, even from back in the day, I always felt rent to rent service accommodation is a great strategy, but it definitely has its flaws. So therefore, aligning it with other strategies like Des was talking about, the multiple streams of income, making sure you have property management on the one hand, making sure you have, so in this case, it's property brokerage, where I then built up a whole list of all these people I could get properties from, Therefore, I don't have to own these properties. I don't have to rent these properties. I just need to find people who want to stay in there. And you can make so much money from this without literally doing anything. I don't have to think about turnover. I don't have to think about how the property gets cleaned. I just have to match them and I can make my own funds. Okay, so every strategy has its flaws, but it's all about making sure that you leverage the best parts of those strategies. So that's how I then went down the londonshortstays.com, where I created a platform where I could literally just post properties that other people owned, including my own properties, and just market that. And people that would then, ask me, or maybe referrals, I'll just send them the link to those properties or send them images of properties I found, and you can easily earn income that way. So, we're talking about, that's why you see this slide, own, services, and control. It's all about your access to the asset. And that's what this whole conversation is about, is how do you get access to assets and to property to manage. Okay, so as I'm wrapping up, just to go over my property strategy. So initially through joint ventures, then raise finance from joint ventures as well, to sell and then flip. And then over time started to buy one and then keep one. So sell one, keep one, and then went into service accommodation strategies, which then refined into brokerage. And then, now my whole thing has been focused on buy, refurbish, refinance, and building up. My goal is getting to a 20 million portfolio over the next 5 years, right? So the target this year has been one property a month, and I'm on target, which is, and this idea of buying one property a month came 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, I had that strategy in my head. I need to buy one property a month in auction. I thought I was going to do it sooner, but then I had other things happen. I had babies, I had things. So it's all good. I'm happy with that. But this year, I then said, that goal we had, we'll work it this year. We'll make it happen this year, right? So every month we've been active, looking for properties, making sure we have strong pipelines that bring in deals. And of course, auctions make it very easy to do that, because you can, if you know how to look through auctions, you can find deals on a monthly basis, literally. So that's been my own journey. And that's how, I've built up my own micro strategy. So it's really about you. Like, how do you want to build your own micro strategy? What is it going to be? Is it going to be rent to rent? But how is it going to be rent to rent? It's not going to be rent to rent, just, rent to rent. I just got a property from a landlord. What area is it going to be? And, I talk about this, as I'm wrapping up, but, I talk about, most property investors understand 5 principles, which is they understand the strategy. They have clarity. Right? Clarity of the area, clarity of even the type of property it is that achieves them that goal. So for me, I know a property, when I walk into a property that has the configuration that I know I can convert, I immediately get the goosebumps, because I know there's money hidden here. There's money here that other investors maybe can't find, but I see it because I found this is my strategy. So clarity of goals, clarity of what are you looking for, and then area expertise, area mastery. If you don't know the area in which you're investing, then you just have all sorts of pitfalls that can happen. Buying on the wrong street, even renting on the wrong street next to the wrong location. You need to understand the area nuances that you're investing in. And then of course, leads versus leverage. Like literally, you have to have leads coming in, but you also have to have leverage. Are you leveraging time, leveraging properties? There's a lot of understanding of how you build up that pipeline so that you have a consistent flow of deals, or how to access, just like what Bolaji was saying about him building a lead generation machine that brings in the leads that he's looking for. You need to refine what that is for yourself, And then, of course, the last one is exit strategies. You need to know what your exit strategy is, So I think overall, it's understanding who you are, understanding your journey, understanding what's brought you here, how that ties in with your journey, how that ties in with what you're building, the vision you have for your future, and how you can actually step by step create a path towards that success. And that's really what this is all about. So I hope you've gotten good value from this session. Hope because my whole intent is about just getting you to think about what people around me can I really start to leverage. And if it's people that you don't know, then build new networks. It's not something that's too new to do. I know people that were not really close friends just 2 years ago. There's somebody in particular, I love the way she's become my friend effectively. Just called me one day out of the blue and said, "Oh, I heard you invest in property." And, we had a few mutual friends and we started talking, and now we talk nearly every day, right? Literally we talk every day. And I would happily do a joint venture with her because we've built up. It didn't take that long, to be honest. Do you understand? Because we have very mutual, very, very aligned goals. So just finding the right people that you align with and connecting with them and working them, that's my own thing for today. So yeah, so really being really honored to be part of this experience, Des. And yeah, just happy to be part of this.
Wow, Dolapo, thank you so much. Can we all give her a round of applause, please? That is such informative information. Wow. For everyone, please, if you liked it, just put amazing in cap locks, or amazing in cap locks in the group chat. That was powerful. Wow, I'm blown away. I've learned a lot, honestly. Wow, wow, wow. How can we connect with you, Dolapo?
Yes, through, so Property Mum. So I actually have slides here. I just,
yeah.
Let me go in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so here. So of course, it's all about knowing your strategy. And so if you wanted to find out more about what is the strategy that actually works for me, and is it active, is it passive, you can find me on propertymon.co.uk. That's where you get all the podcasts that I've done. And Citygate Homes really is just the investment company. It's the company that buys property and invests, and we talk to clients as well. And then of course, there's partnerships as well. So if you are interested in getting into property, you can always reach out to me, definitely.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dolapo. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
A round of applause. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Des.
You are very welcome. Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Everton, and I'll be reading his bio for you all. So Everton has been a lay landlord since 2006, managing properties in London and South East, managed a serviced accommodation in 2019, refurbished homes and sourced properties for investors since 2018. In 2020, he completed one full refurb and started a ground up opportunity, which completed in March 2021 and sold in July 2021 as well. Very quick transition. So without further ado, can we please welcome Everton? Thank you, Everton. You're very welcome. You're on mute, Everton?
Hi, can you hear me now? Yeah. Thanks again for inviting me onto this, Balaje. Thanks for connecting me with Des and Amey. And yeah, it's been phenomenal speaking this morning, speakers this afternoon. I mean, I'm like, what can I say? What can I add? It's already been said. So hopefully I can bring something to the table. But no, it's been really, really, I've learned a lot. Just hearing what's going on in people's lives and what's been shared so far. So really added value, and I'm sure everyone here by the comments so far has been impacted. So I'll be as swift as possible. I've got 10 minutes. Let me set my timer here so I don't run over. Okay. Am I still on? Am I frozen? Everyone all right? Good. Okay. I've lost some sound. Okay, right. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Go to an old school PowerPoint. Okay, so pull this up. There we go. Okay. Oops, go back a bit. Right. So yeah, as I said, my name is Everton Brown. I'm based in Hertfordshire, and yeah, been involved in property for many a year now, since 2006. In terms of my background, purchased my first flat in East London, which was my own owner-occupier home. Back then, there was 100% mortgages flying around, so I was able to get onto the property ladder and purchase my first flat. And then within 18 months, I ended up letting it out. So I became a landlord very, very quickly while I moved away for a few years and was really involved with some charity work. So I was managing my first property and being a landlord, and learned some lessons there. This down quickly, so okay, so yeah, from a early age really, I always had a passion for property. Back in the day, I was a beast at Monopoly, still a beast at Monopoly, but transitioning into real life, I thought, you know what, there's definitely something in property that I liked, in terms of obviously assets and in long-term investment and long-term residual income as well. So as I said, yeah, passion for property. 2006 bought my first place. And then between 2006 and 2021, yeah, there was a lot of, of managing properties, buying properties, selling properties. My late mother as well handled her estate, and when she downsized, sold her home, bought a couple of rental properties for those, managed those properties for her, and kind of managed the family kind of estate until she passed away. And then we sold those properties. And then for myself, done a number of things in regards to properties, buying properties and selling them on and adding value. But in 2018, I really decided to kind of push forward and kind of take this thing a bit more seriously. So I came into a bit of cash, and I thought I really want to kind of make some headway in regards to property. So I got involved with an organization called Source, and they offered an opportunity where they can kind of give some fundamentals and basics around property. I had a little bit of knowledge, but I didn't have loads. I wanted to know more. So kind of educated myself, got involved with this organization, took out a franchise with them, and began that. So fast forward to October 2019, my background, my day job was recruitment, done it for 15 years, decided to kind of take the leap and go into property full time. I then had got into sourcing properties and sourcing deals for investors. So I decided to kind of take the leap and go into properties and full time. So I took that leap, and this is October 2019. So I was doing okay, making a reasonable amount of income from sourcing deals and selling them on to investors. And then rolling into 2020, I was like, right, I've got some goals. I want to kind of start developing my portfolio and building some properties, and I'm doing some refurbs. So my strategy was refurbs in the Southeast. But what happened was, oh, am I sharing my screen? Yeah. So what happened was the pandemic hit. So here I am. I'm trying to look for properties in the Southeast, and I'm trying to look for deals, especially in the Southeast, London and the Southeast, that would kind of work on a 20% profit margin. But the challenge I was finding was I couldn't find anything that worked financially, that stacked up. It was just really, really difficult. I'm based over in Hertfordshire near Enfield, just on the border of the M25. So I was looking around Barnet, Potter's Bar, and it was really, really challenging. So just before the pandemic hit, I kind of changed my strategy, and I thought, what I'm going to do is going to reset everything that I'm looking at in terms of what I'm looking for and where I'm looking. So I decided to just reset my what I was looking for, and I decided to. So I reset everything. So I said, right, I'm going to cap a budget. I'm going to focus. Well, I'm going to run through some rules now of what I did in terms of things I did to kind of kick off my project, my property kind of strategy for the last couple of years. So a couple of rules I'm going to roll through. So one is focus. So the focus. So what I did was I decided to cap my budget and say, look, anything up to 250K is the maximum I'm going to pay for anything. I also set a radius of 40 miles of where I live, and this will allow me to kind of manage a project. A lot of people think that, I can go and buy a property in Liverpool and refurb it. But if you live in London and you're refurbing something in Liverpool, you've got to think about the practicalities of that. So I decided, no, I want to stay within an hour of London, and so I can get to a location, do what I need to do, be hands-on if I need to be, to kind of manage that project. So as I kind of reset that my focus on what I was looking for, where I was looking, how much I wanted to spend, I came across land, and that's where I came across this piece of land where I purchased this piece of land and purchased and began building this portfolio and this house last year. So the second thing I wanted to advise and give people to say is, when you're looking at a deal, is to scrutinize a deal, but work from a minimum profit margin of 20%. Now, the reason why I say that is because a lot of people go into property and thinking, yeah, you just spend a certain amount of money and you're guaranteed to get a certain amount of cash out, but not every deal stacks, not every deal works. I don't know about the like-minded property people here who have been speaking, but for the last 6 to 8 months, the market's been very inflated, which means that the market's been overly inflated and people are paying way over the odds for their deals. And from a developer's perspective, what I found is that I'm working from profit. I just want to make a profit. So any deal I look at now, if you're in the property development, you're looking to flip, I look at conversions, I look at land up deals, stuff with planning ideally. I work with a 20% margin. That's where I'm saying, what, after all my costs, after all my fees, building fees, professional fees, interest on the loan, I need to be coming away with 20% margin. The other factor with that as well is because the banks that you're lending from or bridging companies, they will look at a deal and they want to see that you've got enough buffer in that deal for anything that goes wrong. So in the event of things may go wrong, the market go against you. So instead of selling for expected amount, you may drop off by 5%, or costs may go up with the building fees, or you might come across something may run over in terms of your build or the development. So you have to work with a minimum of 20% profit margin. That's where I work from, and that's kind of a good kind of standard model. If anyone who's looking at developments and flipping, work out your numbers and just work at a 20% profit margin. Most people use calculators. I have Excel calculators. I use Excel spreadsheets. There are companies out there that offer programs where you can input your information, and then I can refer you to a couple of those if you reach out to me, and where you can just put information into a calculator or work out everything for you and tell you, yes, this still works, this still doesn't work. But that's where you can kind of quickly analyze the deal. Yes, this still works for me. It works at 20%. So the next thing is remove all your emotions from property. If you're going to be in property, you've got to remove your emotions. And when considering a project, don't get emotionally attached. This can lead you to a bad financial decision. The numbers don't lie. Listen to the spreadsheet, not to your heart. Okay, I'll say that again. The numbers don't lie. Listen to the spreadsheet, not your heart, because it's very easy to get emotionally attached to buying property. You know, I bought my first house, my first flat, and it's different when you're living somewhere and when you're looking at something as a business opportunity. You've got to take off your heart. You got to lead with your head and not with your heart, because if you get led with your heart in a business opportunity, you could be spending money that you don't want to be spending. You can be making a bad decision about possibly location. You know, the numbers not stacking up. Maybe living in hope that it might happen. So you really have to detach yourself. And what will happen is property is a roller coaster, ups and downs. You're going to have things going to go right, but things can go wrong. So you've got to be able to be brutal in your emotions and say, you know what, I'm going to detach myself emotionally from this, not allow myself to be led by my heart or led by my head, and make solid decisions. Follow through. Good power team. In property, make sure you have a good power team. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. Yeah, they will help you deliver the project. These include a good broker for finance, a good contractor to carry out your work, a solicitor to process a purchase and sale, and a good quantity surveyor. This is someone who will budget your project. Now, if you're looking at a massive refurb where you're putting in your kitchens, bathrooms, you're knocking down walls, these are costs that you can cost out with a quantity surveyor. If you're building from the ground up, you definitely need a quantity surveyor, because he needs to submit a report to the bank to say, look, you've costed out this deal, and you know exactly how much you're going to spend within an amount of contingency. So one thing I would say is cheaper is not always better. Okay, a good power team is worth its weight in gold and can save you time and money. Obviously, yes, we are in the business of obviously saving money, but at the same time, making money. But sometimes you've got to spend a little bit more. I'd rather spend a little bit more on a conveyancer or solicitor who will be efficient, answer my calls, and get the process done, than someone who's cheaper and does none of those things, because in the end, it can hurt you in the long term. So make sure in your power team, good power teams, go with referrals. There's so many places where you can get people to speak to who are in the industry. Maybe someone's a little bit more experienced. So look, can you recommend a QS? Can you recommend a solicitor? Can you recommend a finance broker? There are obviously good places you can go on the net as well to find contractors. There's some reputable websites now where you can find contractors and get reviews. So a good power team behind you is really, really key when you're getting into developments. And rule number 5 is it's a numbers game. Okay, you may have to look at 50 deals or 50 opportunities before one works, but just keep going. You're going to get outbid on some sites. The vendors will be unrealistic in their price. You might not be ready for that. You might not even be ready for the project that you're looking at. What I find and what I see a lot of the time is people are getting into projects and property is they're trying to bite off something that they cannot handle or they've never done. A case in example, if you've never built 10 houses, don't expect the bank to have confidence you can, because they may turn you down So start small or partner with an experienced developer. And the previous speaker talked about, JVing and working with people, because ultimately an experienced developer, you might have a fantastic deal, it's 10 houses, you've got 25% profit in it, but you've got no experience. But there'll be people out there that will look at that deal and say, you know what, I've got experience, I can do that. Why don't we JV? Why don't we come together? And you can still do the deal, and you can still get the confidence from the bank to loan in the money, and deliver that profit, that deal, and generate a profit. So, but I'm saying is that ultimately you've got to be brutal. Yeah, here's the numbers. Then there's this last 5-6 months I've been looking for deals, and it's been challenging. I'm not going to lie. And there's sometimes I've been outbid. I've just been recently outbid on a site. I was going after a site, 8 houses. I've got 8. It had site for planning for 8 houses, and I got outbid by a cash bidder. What can I do? So I had to move on to the next one. So you've just got to keep moving. But I'd rather touch 50 houses and 50 deals that don't work, and just keep going. But eventually something will come along. So you just got to be persistent. The last one is rule 6: is don't worry about the money. Again, Dalapo made an important point about cash and money being available. If you have a good deal and there's profit to be made, but you don't have money to put in the deal, you will find someone that will. There will be someone out there who will have the money. So long as you present a solid project plan with your numbers checked, somebody will invest, i.e. family members, friends, angel investors, high net worth individuals. You can meet these people on networking events. You can meet these people at physical networking events. The country's open back up now, so physical networking events are going to be opening up. As I said, family members, friends. I found a lot of investors on Facebook, social media, reaching out to people, speaking to people. So long as you present a good, solid business plan, project plan, numbers checked, you will find investors. The money isn't an issue. In regards to the banks, currently lending rates right now are around about 65% loan to value. So if you're buying something at 100 grand, they will loan you 65 grand of the purchase. The rest of the money, the 35 grand outstanding, you can get from investors. And if you're getting a development project, whether it's a massive refurb or a land project, you will get 100% funding from the bank at a particular interest rate. So you don't have to worry about how you're going to complete the refurb. The bank will give you that money. But you will just have to just find the money in terms of investors and offering them a fixed return on their money or a profit share, working out a deal with them, say, you know what, this is the deal, this is the return I can give you, but don't worry about the money. The money will find you if you have the right deal. That's it. I'll run through real quick. My name's Everton Brown. You can find me on LinkedIn. So if you just punch in Everton Brown at linkedin.com, you will find me on there. You can contact me, reach out to me. I'm actively working and looking to work with investors or people to JV with stuff. I'm always coming across stuff and deals and actively looking for things. So I'm happy to work with investors. Or if you might have a deal, I can broker you or partner you up with somebody, or may even come into the deal myself. I've got a level of experience now with regards to delivering projects, and I've got a power team ready to go. So thanks for your time. My name's Everton Brown. I'm done speaking.
Thank you very much, Everton. Can we also give him a round of applause, please? That was very good and very informative. And we will be taking a few questions towards the end of the session. But without further ado, we have got one more amazing speaker. She is none other than lovely Erica Fremantle, and she is Amey Finance Academy property strategist with over 35 years experience in property training and education, including residential, buy-to-let, repossession, portfolio building, rent-to-rent, lease options, development, mentoring, global business enterprise, and strategic growth. She has also built a wealth of knowledge within the property industry and has supported over 50 property developers, 25 who have become property millionaires. She also believes in building generational wealth using the old traditional African theory. So without further ado, let us all welcome and give a round of applause to Erica Fremantle. Very welcome, Erica. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for still being here. But before I go into what I want to say thank you to the other speakers, very, very knowledgeable. You took me on a completely different journey. I've seen property from a different perspective, which is really good. But before I go into what I have to say, anyone that knows me knows when it comes to property, I'm very serious. I don't even smile. okay? But I'm going to smile for this gentleman, Des Amey. Congratulations on your book, Des. I am a proud mother. I'm very, very proud of you. It was an honor and a privilege for you to ask me to write the foreword. You know, this is just the beginning of something else that you come up with that's going to turn into, you know, a few more £1 million. So well done. Very, very proud of you. So I've listened to what everybody's had to say, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. But from a layman's point of view, it sounds like we sometimes speak French and Spanish at the same time. So if you're already in property, a lot of the terminologies that are said, we know. But if you're not in property, which is what I always endeavor to do, I always step back to listen to how people put and present property. Property is a minefield. You know, there are terminologies, there are words that we just fling around and we just throw around because we just assume everyone knows what they mean. But most people don't, and they ad lib. So that's when the problems start at the beginning of purchasing properties. People pretend they know. They may have the capital, but they really don't understand the language. And the language in property is not always the words. It's about the feeling and the people that you align yourselves to. So we use words like development, you know, leveraging, build, and all those types of words. But if you're not from the financial background and you've had no training, it really doesn't mean anything. And even if you look them up in a dictionary, it really doesn't mean anything. So let me just tell you a little bit about my journey very quickly, because I am very mindful of time and, you know, I can talk forever, so I won't do that tonight. So yes, I am the proud strategist that works with Des Amey at Amey Finance. And Des will tell you when it comes to property, I don't joke. There's no room for mistakes because I've made many. I've been doing property since 83, 84, before most of you were even born. And I always say when God was a child, you know, property is something, if you get it right, you can really get it right. But when you get it wrong, there's no coming back. So I'm going to start from where I got it wrong. So I've been doing property for 20 years and I got it wrong. I've been through 3 recessions. I promise you this, I will never get it wrong again. I got it wrong because I took my eye off the ball in 2006. I blew up in 1991 when I bought my first property in the 80s for £11,000. £11,000, that's right, £11,000. But you know what? £11,000 is the same as 110,000 or even £1 million if you don't have that initial money. I always say it's about the full stop and the zeros. It's all relative. So my father gave me £3,000 in 19, whatever year it was. And he gave my 5 brothers, it's quite a funny story, £3,000. I'm the only girl. My brothers did whatever they wanted to do with their money. But something said to me, I had no idea, I had no training, I had no education, I had no knowledge about property. I was a very young woman at the time, but something said to me, buy a house. Because I always sat around my parents and I always heard them speaking about when they came from Jamaica and there were 20 people in one room or, you know, 30 people in one house. And that was their reality. And we were just coming out the 70s, early 80s. It was still part of their reality. We were living in a council flat that my parents, thank God for Margaret Thatcher, had introduced the right to buy. The right to buy isn't new. It's as old as the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And most people weren't educated. They didn't know what the right to buy was. And most people, especially people of color, didn't buy because they thought it was a taboo, or they didn't have the confidence within themselves to believe that they should own property. It was a catch. I heard my mum and dad speaking one day. My dad said to my mum, I want to buy the house. And my mum said, I want to buy the flat. And my mother said, should we? They were so scared. They were so petrified. And as a young couple, I heard them say, let's do this. They want a better life for their children. and they were so scared. At the time, it was a council flat in Brixton, and at the time the flat was worth, I think it was about £50,000, a lot of money. You remember what I said about the full stops and the zeros, they're all relative. Fear is fear is fear. It has no color, has no dots, and it has no zeros. Fear is fear. They bought it. And in the end, they had a bit of capital, and they decided when they bought the property that they were going to go back to Jamaica while they were still young. So my father then, as I said, proportioned out £3,000 each. And I decided, after hearing that conversation, I didn't want that to be me with my future husband, whoever he was. I wanted to buy something and own something. So I then went to an estate agent. We are as good as our estate agent. We are as good as the people we have around us. And I went to an estate agent in Stratton. I didn't know anything. I had £3,000. And I went into the estate agent and I said, I felt a bit large because I had £3,000 and I could, understand a little bit of the lingo because I heard my mum and dad. And I said to him, I want to buy a property. And the way I was treated, if I'd really taken on board what this guy had said, I would never have bought. But because of my ego, because of my determination, because of the conversations I heard my parents have, I decided that I was going to pursue. Lo and behold, I was shown 3 properties, and then I was shown this one in Brixton. And as I said, it was £11,000. I had £3,000. I didn't have to pay the whole deposit down, and I decided not to. So I bought the first property, got a mortgage. In those days, it was 100% mortgages. Yes, 100% mortgages. So I realized that that money could then turn and purchase others. And that's how I started. No education, no guidance, fear of my parents, not wanting that to be me. As time went on, I continued to buy a couple of houses and a couple of flats. And that's how I started in property. Just touching on some of the things, I have got nothing scripted, I'm just speaking from the top of my head, which is how I like to do things. But I remember feeling an excitement and an elation, and I'm sure anyone in property, you can relate to this. When you buy your first property, there's an elation, there's a joy, there's a satisfaction, there's an excitement. And I just wanted more. I just wanted to buy more. So I did, but I didn't want the headache. And if you can imagine the world without all the technology that we have today, so the mobile phones, the internet, all the things that you guys have and you run with and you take for granted. I was a lone Black woman doing this on my own. I had one of those big Motorola mobile phones that was big as a brick, even bigger than a brick. It was so heavy, it used to hurt my shoulder. But hey, I was in property, so I looked good. I don't even think I was driving then. But the moral of the story, what I'm saying to you is whatever you're going to do, make sure that you do it with the right people and have the right people around you. Who are the right people? Right people are people that have done it already, not people that are on the journey. I don't believe in doing something with somebody that's in the same place as you. To me, it doesn't make sense. It's like the blind leading the blind. I always believe, and this is my own personal philosophy, is that you should be taught by somebody who's gone through the experience. I met a young man, he was 17 years old. He's now 47. At the age of 17, he approached me and he asked me if I could be his mentor. I didn't even know what the word mentor meant. He became a pain in the neck. He was with me, everything that I did, everywhere that I went. He helped me with my properties. He helped me manage. We used to drive from property to property with the keys, checking on the properties. I realized it wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't have the patience. I didn't have the character. I didn't have the personality. So partnerships are good, but it depends on what the partnerships look like and what the individuals are bringing to the table. And this individual has now gone on to be the most successful person I know in property because he was humble and he learned very slowly and he wasn't in any hurry, and he learned on the back of my mistakes, and I made many mistakes. So there is so many different avenues that you could pursue in property. I would say it starts with one and stick to an area that you understand. And the reason why I smiled when I said it starts with one takes me back to what Des said earlier. Because remember, this is about Des and his book and what he's accomplished. And Des and I have created a course, and it's simply called It Starts With One. So all these technical terminologies and all these things that we're hearing, most of us don't understand. To tell you the truth, I still don't understand half of them. But we came up with the course, It Starts With One, because whether you buy, whether you want to buy, whether you want to rent, whether you want, whatever you want to do, refurbs, development, whatever you want to do in property, it starts with one. And if you get that one wrong, it can put you off for life. So we came up with a beautiful, I think it's a very beautiful course. It's fun, we laugh, he actually gets me laughing. You know, he's about one of the few people that can make me laugh, but we laugh throughout the course, and it's to guide you and give you that fundamental knowledge. So Des has written a book, and it's very compact, and it's like the Bible, it's the knowledge of property. But at the same time, you can have that and still pursue other things in the area of property and do a course and listen and go back and listen. And our course is very cheap. We're not here to make money off people, but it's just another way of learning. We both believe in education, Des and I. Education is imperative. You know, it's more, I think education, communication, and relationships are the most important things a human being can have. You know, as I said, I've been in property a long time. I've seen many people come, and I'm sure I'll see many people go. The guys that started out, that when I started out were big time players, really flashed the biggest cars, the biggest houses, you know, in those days, the biggest phones, nowhere to be seen. As I said, I've been through 3 recessions. We are about to hit a recession. In fact, we are in a recession. Some of you may not recognize it because it's been packaged and covered and called a pandemic. But coming out of this pandemic, the world will not be as you know it. So please, if you seriously are thinking about getting into property, really understand why you're getting into property and the moves that you're going to make. Find one area in property, read up on it. You don't have to make the financial mistakes like a lot of us have. Read up on it, get to know it, get to understand it, do your numbers. You know, it was mentioned that, I think it was Everton said that he works with minimum 20%. If I'm not making 40%, I don't want to know. How do I get those deals? Because of the relationships that I know and the relationships that I have. For me, it's hard work. And if I'm going to be stressed, I need to be stressed for the real deal. But you've got to start somewhere. You know, Des will tell you, we speak every single day. I don't know where he gets the energy from. I don't know. I think he's on batteries. You know, I just don't get it. But when I look back at my life, I remember being like Des, but I didn't have any support. I didn't have anyone to show me or guide me. So for those of you that know and love and appreciate Des, let's give him a round of applause for what he's doing and what he's doing for you and your children's children, because you don't see it because you're in it. But there isn't anybody else that I know that looks like Des, that's giving so much of himself back to the community in such a way that you're all going to benefit. He's not just doing the one thing. I don't know how he does all of those, all the different things that he does. But you know what? When someone is genuine, when someone is sincere, when they're knowledgeable, you run with them. Because remember what I said, leaders need leaders. You know, I'd like to end by saying that, well, there's so many things that I can say, but I'll say I have a nugget of my own, and that is knowledge is great. You know what I'm going to say, Des. Knowledge is great. And so what? You can have all the knowledge in the world. You can read all the books in the world. You can attend all the seminars. You can have all the partners in the world. But if you don't know how to apply that knowledge, it actually means nothing. So without further ado, I'd just like to say thank you so much. I've come from a completely different approach. I come from a real approach. When you lose a lot of money, it makes you real. And I like to believe in this space, I'm really real, but property is phenomenal. It can be fun. It can change your life, and it will change your life. Stick with Des, he'll show you the way. So thank you.
Wow, Erica, thank you so much. I love what you just said. Stick with Des and he will show you the way. Ah, Erica, you've touched lives already. Wow. Can we all just give Erica a round of applause, please? That is absolutely phenomenal. I see Des showing a love heart emoji. Thank you so much, Erica. We humbly appreciate you. We really do. Thank you so much for your honesty. It takes me back so much because, you know, in these times we're in, it's not always easy being honest. And your honesty has touched a lot of people, including myself, you know, to know that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not know certain things. But ultimately what I've gained is to really be around like-minded people that know more than you. And I stated this in my blog post with the British Library. I said that you need to be confident in working with people who are higher than you. It's okay to humble yourself and just learn from other people. And I know so many people today have actually learned a lot from you and all the other speakers. So thank you once again. Thank you very, very much. Oh, okay. So I will be very honored if all the speakers could please list down their social media platforms in the group chat so that we can all connect with them. That'll be amazing. So your LinkedIn profiles, your Instagram profiles, Twitter, Facebook, websites, business cards, anything that we can connect with you all, that would be amazing. I'll surely be connecting with you all. I am connected with some of you already. And we also have, in the meantime, whilst they are putting their social media platforms in the group chat, I actually have a question that came through earlier. Let me quickly just get it out. It's from Nove Mathambo, and this is for Everton. And it says, I don't understand how you do all those calculations before you purchase. Can you get plumbers and builders in to assess and give a quote on a property you haven't purchased yet? So Everton, if you can kindly answer that question, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So yes, you can. You know, obviously, especially if you're looking at auctions, they're normally on auction day. There's an open day to purchase an auction, for instance. They normally have an open day where you're going to purchase. Well, we're normally going to purchase, but they normally have an auction day where you can go on an open day. We can go along and look at the property. So you can go along with a builder, and you can go along with your plumber or whoever your contractor. And say, I'm going to see this property. You know, can you give me a rough cut or guide of how much it's going to cost? And they'll want to see it on site. So my contractor now is a guy, my builder I work with. I found him on My Builder. If you want to know where I found him on My Builder. I built up a relationship over the last 3 years, and he looked at a number of sites for me. But as you get into doing what we're doing in property, you begin to pick up and understand and know certain things. So off the bat now, I can quote to you, you know, pounds per square meter, how much it costs. I can get a rough estimate on how much it's going to cost for electrics because I've done it so many times. So once you've done it 1 or 2 times, especially, and you've had estimates, if it's a 3-bed house, then it's not going to be too dissimilar from another 3-bed house if it's a similar size. So, but in answer to your question is you can get quotes. It's, you know, obviously it's all part of the process in doing your DD, and the wise thing would be to do, because you may look at a house and think, great, it's a great house, but a builder will come along with his highs and say, well, actually, you know what, you need to rewire here, you know what, you need to do some tanking down here, you know, and they will highlight things to you that you wouldn't even conceive. So, in a short answer, yes, if you get a referral from a contractor or builder, you know, if you present a good opportunity to them, they'll come along and give you a quote.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Everton. We have another question from Naomi Walker, and she stated, when you take properties off landlords to manage, how do you manage HMO licenses and who applies for the license applications? Is that a generic question for everyone, Naomi, or just for someone specific? But if anyone can actually answer this question, that would be great. In the panelist? Would anyone like to answer? Just quickly copy the question again.
Sorry, I'll go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so my expertise is actually service accommodation, but I have done a few HMOs. And typically with HMOs, you are the one. So sometimes properties will come with a HMO license, but those are not necessarily the properties you're looking for. And I guess it depends on who you speak to about that, because the margins are already built in. Depends on where you find the landlord. Some landlords who have properties with HMO licenses already will charge that premium when they're renting it to you. So the margins would then be less when you then decide to rent it. So in a sense, you're getting a property, but you're already getting it at a premium. Okay, so that's when the property already comes with a license. If you really do the hard work and you find a property in an area that's not an Article 4 area, therefore has restrictions, then you can go ahead and apply for the license. Typically takes about 6 to 8 weeks. And depending, the way we strategize it is you can fill in the properties either with a short-term serviced accommodation. You're going to furnish the property anyway, or you can fill in the property with the minimum number of tenants while you wait for the license to come through. And once the license comes through, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on what's going on in the market. I haven't done it recently, but once it comes through, then you have your license. And then the good thing about those types of properties is you've already gotten it from the landlord at a discount because you got it as a single let property. So to clarify, based on what Erica was saying, our people who don't really know the lingo, if you find a property that is a single let property, it means that it's already put on the market just as a property to let out to a family or let out to a single occupant and their family. Now, when you convert that property into a HMO, that's where you really get that markup, because you're renting it as a single let, but then you can split out the rooms into the individual room prices and then put it on the market. So you're doing a bit more work, you're getting the paperwork, but you'll find with property that that's actually how you make, that's how you make some of your margins. Like I think it was Everton that said, if you buy properties with planning, it's already, there's a bit of a premium. If you do the work, and go get the planning, then you lock in a bit more margin. So everything is about being able to leverage around paperwork and just source the property that you can. So to respond to that question in particular, it's better if you are the one applying for the license. You make more money on that deal.
Could I also add something to that? I missed the question, but there's something I was going to add. So there's a way in which you can also sort of shortcut that. So councils have a list of HMO licenses, which is publicly available in the public domain. So you can go to any council where your patch is, and like they must give you the list. Even if it's not on their website, you can request it. And that list will have basically a list of every HMO licensed in the area. So it means that you can be reaching out to landlords that are already, they already have HMO licenses, and you can actually see on that list the date of the beginning of when the license, started to the end. So you can actually see, okay, there's a property here that, it's got 3 years worth of licenses, or there's a property here which has maybe 1 year left. So you can, one of the things that, I've learned the hard way now is try and get a property that is already licensed, because then you can cut out the hassle of having to, pay for the license. So that's another thing to be aware of.
If I can add as well, just a shameless plug from my book. Where else to do that than a book launch? I'd actually cover that as well in quite some detail. How to go about getting that list, and also when you're negotiating with landlords, you have to be prepared to to be prepared to hear that some landlords may not want their house to be an HMO. There's some landlords that, they're just not prepared for it. They have their preconceived ideas, and that's okay. Some will, some won't. So what? Somebody's waiting.
Perfect. You said it so well, and I was actually going to echo that because it's actually in the book. So it's been humbling. I mean, all you lovely panelists, you've gone through the fire and you've made it out, and you're still learning. And that's the beauty of it, because as a young woman myself, I really love property. I was working in property, and now I transitioned into authoring and book writing. So it's really nice to see the journey of all of you in different fields actually coming together to want to teach people how to do property. There's another question from Tamara Nicole. She said, I am a complete beginner with little knowledge about property and no capital. How would you suggest I begin my property journey? Can anyone answer this question, please?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
She says she's a complete beginner, right?
Yes.
Listen, 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 listen and learn. Read as much. But you see, people give contradicting information. So it goes back to what I said, obtain the information from individuals that have done it and have accomplished, not people that are thinking about it, thought about it. It's very, very important because what didn't work for one person may work for someone else. So it's just getting the facts and understanding of the industry. It's a, you know, it's a property industry can actually kill you with stress. But again, if you have the right knowledge, it's like anything else, if you have the right ingredients. So I would suggest something like the course that Des, myself and Balaje has put together, because it gives you that information in a fun environment, in a layman's terms. It teaches you about management, lawyers, the terminologies, as I keep saying, the things that we take for granted. And then with that information, it gives you the confidence to be able to have other conversations with people in the space. So it starts with one, and that's why we came up with that title. It's important that you have that fundamental knowledge, because that knowledge is not going to change. Once you understand, one and one, no matter where you are in the world, would always make two. But you got to know that and believe that one and one will always make two. Somebody else can come and negotiate with you and make you think that 1.5 and 3 will make 2, because that's what the property world does to you. But if you have that fundamental basic knowledge and you use that as your guideline, you can't really go too wrong. And when we talk about partnerships, be very careful. That's what I would say. You know, as it was said by Delapo, get to know the individuals. Going out for one meal or for a drink doesn't mean you should sign on the dotted line. You know, find out if their morals and their ethics and their principles align with yours, because if you don't, it will come out very soon and it can end very nasty. And that's something that not many people tell you about the truth in the property world. So I think, yeah, just get the knowledge, obtain the knowledge and apply it. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Erica. If I could just add to that as well, and it takes me back to when I was a beginner, you know, and I'm sure the panelists can relate to that as well. And so what I did was I acquired the knowledge. As I mentioned earlier, I used to go to these property conventions all day on a Saturday. And I remember vividly taking people's number, you know, and because these calls were very high energy. And a lot of people were chanting, a lot of people were very optimistic. And I would take somebody's number, and in about 2 weeks' time, you know, I'd call them and say, hey, bro, how's it going? How's it going for you? And I was always taken aback as to how far along I had gone and how some people had done absolutely nothing. You see, you can read all the books, you can attend the courses, and you all feel fired up. But there is a significantly large amount of people that attend these kind of conventions and do nothing. I find it surprising. They do absolutely nothing. So my question back to the person who asked the question is, what's your why? Why do you want to get into property? Do you know your why? Because you know what you want, but why do you want it? Because if your why is strong enough, then when you do read my book, when you know, if you do attend any courses, you will be so fired up to take action that everything else would just forget about the how. Just like Erica said, like Delapo said, just, you know, write this down. Success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. If you want to be successful, you simply have to copy someone who has done it. And of course, you know, put your own flair to it and so forth. But just take action. I always leave a convention having written down the things that I'm going to implement straight away. What am I going to do straight away to kick? Because guess what, guys? Life gets in the way. Before you know it, 2 days have gone by, a week's gone by, a few months have gone by, a whole year's gone by, and that course that you went on, you've done absolutely nothing. Have an accountability partner who's going to hold you to account. It's very, very, very important. Thank you.
Wow, that is very true. I think definitely something that I'm gaining from this is be accountable, be teachable, be a student, remain a student, be a sponge that is willing to soak up as much knowledge. Someone actually said here, definitely want to do the course. Property is my passion. Love it, just don't know how to get into it. That's why I started trading. Yeah. And also Jackie said, are there any property mentors?
I can answer or on before I see Des was going to talk, but
Yeah.
you know, just to add, the course that Des is doing now is just one. So there will be a suite of courses and programs with mentors on the platform. So absolutely, Jackie, yes, on the platform there'll be all of that. You'll have all the resources, mentors, and coaching, and the buddying that you need to kind of help you with that accountability, but also that push towards your property success.
I think the last thing I'd add to Jackie as well is just educating her mindset, because mindset is so key in property, and you can have the passion, and you can have the get up and go to get into property, but if you don't have a mindset shift, you can quickly get knocked down, you can quickly get despondent, and you need to kind of reinforce your mind. So self-education around mindset is very, very important. And yeah, and putting yourself around good people. But the books definitely, I'd echo, definitely educate yourself on the book that's been promoted today, as well as other property entrepreneurs that have done it, and getting yourself around people, networking with people who are have either made it, and getting yourself around so you can begin to educate your own mindset, because it's very, very important. So
100%.
Just to follow on from what Everton's just said, they say your network is your net worth. You are the sum total of the 7 or 8 people that you spend the most time with. That's why I love spending time with Erica, because my net worth just shoots up straight away. But that being said, guys, I want to talk about 2 things that are really, really important. And the first one is self-limiting belief. You see, a lot of you are going to embark on this journey, and you're going to have this little voice inside of you that says, what do you think you're doing? Do you think you're, well, you think you're a property person now. You think you're a property developer. And that voice, can deter you. Has anyone ever experienced anything like that in any kind of, way, shape or form? Just put a 1 if you've ever experienced anything like that. Guys, trust me, you need to, just get that out of your head straight away. Okay. If you say you can or you can't, you're right. So you really have to just kind of get over that self-limit. Guys, you can see, the panel that we have here today, everyone's from, very humble beginnings, but it's just having that belief that it's done. I want you to write in the chat box, it's done. Like, have that mindset, like it's done and time just needs to catch up. And the other thing I want to say very quickly is that what happens to a lot of people on this journey is that they'll embark on the journey and their tail's wagging, everything's going well, and then they'll get a knock. So maybe they approach the landlord and the landlord said, hell no, right? And then that's it. That's the end of their journey. They just gonna give up, But honestly, people like Everton, Delapo, Balaji, Erica, they would have had the same knocks, the same no's, the same doors slammed in the face. You heard Erica's story, but the difference is they just keep going. Do not give up, guys. Make sure you have a vision board. Make sure you have a vision board and you look at it every single day and have experiences, go out and visit landlords. I mean, go to a stage, go on viewings, look at houses that you want to occupy, feel it, see it, smell it. It's very, very, very powerful. Just yesterday, David and I was driving through the most expensive road in Hull. Believe it or not, they actually have nice houses in Hull. Right? And we were just taken aback. But back to you, Esther.
Thank you so much, Des. I mean, you all have shared such informative information, and it's just amazing. As you rightfully said, we are all on different journeys, but we are here to learn together. I think in as much as the mindset is important, there's also unity. When we can all come together and agree on something, I believe that's where the power really lies. It's not just about one person knowing something, but it's about everyone sharing that knowledge. And I know someone in the group chat did state that they wanted to do the course. So I wanted to find out, Des, if you can actually put your link of the course in the group chat so that people can actually sign up.
So just to
that
be
would be amazing.
Yes, just to be very, very clear. So when you go to our website, ameyfinance.com, click on wealth creation and properties, what you'll see is that we have a lot of courses that are coming soon. So all of the courses that are directly related to the book, namely rent to rent, service accommodation, deal sourcing, those courses are coming soon. They're going to be so powerful. I've had a sneak preview. It's absolutely incredible. But the one we have that's ready right now is the It Starts With One, and that is aimed for people who are at the beginning of their journey, who are getting on the property, who want to get on the property ladder, aspire to own their first property. And that's the course that Erica was talking very eloquently about. Very fun, interactive, and will definitely, get you on that ladder and give you everything that you need knowledge-wise in layman's terms. That was the aim of the whole course.
Perfect.
And I'm going to share the link right now.
Please, thank you so much. Thank you, Des. Does anyone else have any questions at all? You can feel free to write it in the group chat or you can speak it out. It's been a really good event. Honestly, Des, you've done so well, and all the speakers, thank you all. A big, massive thank you to all the speakers. We really appreciate it. Dulcie said, congrats, Des. A big thank you to all the speakers. Extremely informative call. Thank you.
Thank you for paving the way, Dolce, another amazing author.
Oh, nice.
I think we'll start to wrap it up now because we've gone over time. I don't want anyone to tell me off.
That's okay.
My aunties are on the call.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Once again, I will surely leave the link in the group chat for those of you who would like a copy of Des's book. Please, 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 for those of you who are intentional about getting into property, do get this book. It is very inspirational and it will change your life mentally and emotionally. I've gained a lot from it already. And I just want to encourage you all, be confident to step out, come out of your comfort zone. There's so much you can do. There's so much you can learn. You know, if we can all come together and share what we know, I'm sure with time, we will surely get to the place where we need to be. But thank you very much, Des, in particular, for publishing a great book. I know that there's many books to come, Des. This is not just the first one. There's many more.
I took it out of me, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that, guys, honestly, it is the blueprint. It is so good. It will kickstart your whole journey. It's one of the rare moments where I actually sat back and fist pumped myself. You know, you get those moments where you have to just fist pump yourself, like, okay, you know what? That was actually good. You know, it's very, very good. So definitely get the book. You won't be disappointed. And leave a review. Let's make it happen, guys. Thank you all for attending. Big thank you to my family who are on the call as well. Dominica, Donnell, Danielle, way past your bedtime, but it's all good. Again, to you, Esther, for publishing the book and, you know, just, you know, being just right there with me, holding my hand right through it, because I needed that. And being an accountability partner. When I get those messages like, how's your book coming along? And I'm like, we've got the cover. Does that count? And again, Erica for, you know, just being my property business partner, for the forward, being, you know, an amazing friend. All of the speakers, thank you so much. Balaji, Dalapo, Everton, amazing nuggets. Even I wrote notes in my pad, you know, my little pad is just full of notes now. Absolutely incredible. Alicia, amazing voice. Dame Claudine for the you know, amazing reading of the poem as well. Incredible. I hope I've not left anyone out. I'll do some private thank yous as well. Thank you so much. All my aunties on the call as well. Thank you for hopping on. Really, really appreciate it. And I think there's a couple of uncles there as well. Let's go. And my son as well for playing the piano. Thank you, Rex. All good. I'll take him to Smith's tomorrow.
Oh, thank you so much, Des. We really appreciate you. Can we just give a round of applause for Des, please? All this work he's been doing behind the scenes. He deserves so much more. Des, we really honor you and we love you very much. Honestly, you are a big inspiration to us all. 21st century, honestly. Just keep doing what you're doing. The love is real. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome.
Well done, Daddy.
Thank you. Well done, Daddy. Oh, thank you. It's all for you.
Generation wealth.
Indeed, absolutely. In fact, it's not even for you. It's for your kids. Yes. Don't worry, it's probably gone over your head.
Yes. Oh, how wonderful this was. Thank you so much.
Guys, you know, I'm going to play us out with a song. It's one that's become a bit of a favorite in the academy. Unless there's anyone got anything that they wanted to say real quick. Otherwise, Does anyone know what song I'm going to play? Put it in the chat box if you know the song that I'm going to play right now.
Ooh.
I'm sure they're putting it in the chat box. I can't even see it, but I'm sure they are.
Yes, they are.
See everyone dancing. Oh, this is the clean version. I'll pause it. Sorry, aunties, in advance. Guys, it's time to get down to business. Let's make it happen.
Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this.
Woo!
So let's get down down, let's get down to business.
Let's get down to business, guys.
Please don't lie.
Woo! Let's go. Somebody write "let's go" in the chat box.
My heart's beat. Friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business.
Woo!
Let's get down to business.
Let's go.
One more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business. Back and forth with the.
Okay, I caught it just in time.
You know I said before, I don't mean it. It's been a while since I had your attention. So in my
I wasn't meant to do that. Guys, I think that is our cue to call it a night. Have a great evening, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening with your family. Thank you once again. I appreciate your time. Guys, my name is Des Amey, literally from the top of Canary Wharf. Wherever you see that blue flashing beacon, think of me, and we'll see you at the top because the bottom is way too crowded. Take care, God bless, and I'll see you on the other side of success.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.